Hello, wackos. Oh my, I made this too loud. I was excited. Well, no, I can just, maybe I can talk quieter. Maybe I can talk quieter. I don't know. It's not fun. It's not fun if I don't make you put it down a little bit. The screen looks great today, though, Mike. Whatever you did with the lighting in this room, we finally, after, what is it, 300 episodes, we've really nailed the visuals on this. So this looks good. And I'm so happy because I always wear these cool shirts. And you can, guys, I feel like you can never see it because usually the art starts lower. And today we can actually see the shirt. So this is exciting. Okay. Oh, my God. Wow, 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 wow. If you guys, well, first of all, welcome to Without a Country. I'm Corinne Fisher. So confusing if people don't know what they're tuning into. Hi, I'm Corinne Fisher. I ran for mayor, but I didn't get on the ballot. And now I host this podcast. Well, I hosted the podcast the whole time. Anyway, oh my God, so much more information about the corruption in the city. Also, before we get into the show, this is Without a Country. This is what the show is called. We go over politics from the perspective of the right and the left. We find some truth in the middle. We use critical thinking. We don't just go along with the party that we normally vote for. We actually try to go inside our brains and figure out what we think is right and wrong. That's the template of this show. But it's so funny right now because obviously, like, publicly, you're not hearing anything else about the mayoral race from my end because the election stopped for me after the whole ballot nonsense. But I still have, I don't know, 18 months. It could be up to 18 months of work that I have left to do because there's a post-election audit that the Campaign Finance Board does. And let me tell you, like, running for mayor once, the amount of mistakes that the Board of Elections and the Campaign Finance Board has already made is wild. And I like the Campaign Finance Board. I like that they exist. I think it is necessary in a place, where so many people are doing messed up things with money. I think you do need a watchdog like that. But again, when candidates are being held to the standards that we are being held to, and we should, but the watchdogs looking over us should also be held to the same standards. And the amount of mistakes that they've made, they made the mistake with the voter guide. A mistake in my legal team's opinion is why I didn't get on the ballot, because I was legally supposed to be notified of the correction that I needed to make on my cover page when I was submitting my signatures. And then, in the past 24 hours, there was another instance where my treasurer and I, because we're the last people standing on the campaign team, because we are the last people who have work to hand in for this audit. So we get this notification that we didn't submit this disclosure report. And, it's like, who knows what the heck, I'm not saying I'm going to end up in jail, but like, this is serious. You don't want to miss, reports that you're supposed to be submitting. And I'm like, what, like, I thought our next report was due, September 30th. I'm like, what's going on here? How did we miss this? Emails are going sometimes to her, sometimes to me, sometimes to neither of us. There's no rhyme or reason. We just did a post-election audit training. There's a portal where you're supposed to get credit on it. We don't get credit in the meeting. Like, you have to fill out this this form at the end to get credit for it. They don't even have the right date on it. In the middle of the meeting, they're updating it. Just like nonsense, little, stuff. And so I'm like freaking out that we missed some deadline, and you don't want to miss a deadline on an election audit. Like, that doesn't sound good. I take these things very seriously. And then I get, a day later, they're like, "Oops, just kidding. We realized that you're, since you're not running for mayor anymore, that since you didn't keep your campaign running past the primary, you actually didn't have to submit that disclosure report. LOL, JK. Sorry for threatening you with this crazy penalization." I'm just like just every time I'm like, again, not allowed on the ballot because one number on one line was incorrect, and it wasn't even a mistake. It was just, my legal team's interpretation was different than the Board of Elections' interpretation. It should have been filled in automatically because the answer to everyone's would have been fucking 1. That just so the answer to everyone's, the line that we put, this line for every single candidate would say 1. because they wanted an answer of like one singular submission. So it doesn't even make sense that the line exists to begin with. That being said, we put in like the multiple packets that we sent in. I don't ever talk about this because it's too confusing so it's not like a juicy story because it's too confusing. I like explained it to a reporter. I heard her falling asleep on the other end of the phone because it's just not a juicy story. It's kind of like climate change. You're like, it's a problem, but we got to make it juicier. Anyway, so just yet again, another fucking instance of them fucking up, them scaring me, and then, I'm out of the election and they're still running the whole New York. And also crazy things still happening in the mayoral election, crazy things happening in municipal politics all over this country, in the UK, in Canada. So we're going to keep it moving and grooving right along. Yeah, absolutely. Exciting stuff. Thank you for being here. I did see Nine Inch Nails last night at Barclays. I haven't seen them in like over a decade. I saw a concert there. I had been waiting when I was in my 20s to see Nine Inch Nails because they are my favorite band. And I mean, my Spice Girls are like my love, but this is different. Like it's like they're a group. This is a band. It's all different. But Nine Inch Nails is my favorite band of all time, and I couldn't afford to see them for forever. And I also started liking them in high school, and I'm like, who was I even gonna go with? So I saw them about between 10 and 13 years ago. I can't exactly remember what year it was, but I saw them at the Barclays Center right after it first opened. I think Barclays opened in like 2012. So around that time. So good. Was the best concert I had ever seen. Was blown away by it. And then I saw them again last night, and this is the only people they had to beat were themselves, and they beat themselves yet again. Trent Reznor's 60 years old, just incredible, which is not even old. Like now, being 39, I'm just like, this is. I don't know. I mean, 20 years is a long time, so I'll report back to you when I'm 60 and I'll let you know how I feel. But right now, I feel great. So if you were scared of turning 39, just know you're going to feel better because you have almost the same energy you did when you were in your 20s, but you're not polluting your body as much probably. And you have more of a routine, and hopefully you have a little more money, and so you can take care of yourself a little bit better, and that's the only difference. Yes, and obviously I'm talking from a perspective of someone who doesn't have kids and is not married. So you're going to be more tired if you have kids, and if you're married, if you're a man, you'll be less tired, and if you're a woman, you'll be more tired. So just and if you're gay, I don't know as much information about that. So. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure in a lesbian or a gay male relationship who would be the more tired party if you were to be equally tired, or if maybe neither of you will be tired. I don't really know. I think it's more about the parenting though that makes you tired. So yeah, if you were ever interested in seeing Nine Inch Nails live, like they don't even have to be your favorite band. I mean, obviously you should be someone who likes industrial rock music because otherwise it will hurt your ears. But just like the setup, you walk in, the whole thing feels like the most poetic haunted house that you've ever entered. For this series of shows, Boys Noise is opening, who is a DJ. Who does, so it's like EDM, but kind of like this, like, it does have hints of industrial rock. Because at first when I saw that a DJ was opening, I was like, how does this make sense for Nine Inch Nails, like just having come from Elements Festival? But it's Boys Noise is different. He definitely has like this more gothic, alternative, more industrial feel. And so we walked into Barclays, and it's like dark and foggy, and there's just this German guy absolutely DJing his heart out, and then goes right into Nine Inch Nails. And it is, so don't think you have time to go to the bathroom between the opener and Nine Inch Nails. You don't. It literally, like when I say like seconds, so pee before, get your hot dog and your soda before, get your beer before. I'm so glad I read online because I wouldn't have known that otherwise. But like, unless you'd have to time it really badly to miss it. But it's just so beautiful. Truly, like, 90 minutes of perfect curation. And I've seen in the past couple of years some really well curated shows. Like, I want to give Taylor Swift her, credit where credit is due. That was a really well put together show, but there is nothing. I've never seen anything as seamless or perfect, from the lights to the to the music, to the sound, to the fog, to the stage placement changes, because he was doing part of it in this like little box, tiny stage that I was really close to because I was on the floor. And then he did part of the concert in like the larger, like rock star spread a little further back with the huge screens. And just, I mean, polished, edgy, insightful. This is an interesting tour because they're using a lot of songs from Downward Spiral. They're going back to that, which I know some people might be disappointed, but like, when you write the greatest album of all time, in my opinion, Downward Spiral is the greatest album of all time. I mean, yeah, I feel like you can just sing it as many times as you want. Just like, it was the concert was so good. So good. And I've seen a lot of concerts that I was really looking forward to this summer, but this is just, I mean, this is one of those things where you watch this and you go, why am I even an artist? Like, nothing I do is going to even come close to this. So why am I even trying, honestly? Maybe I should just hang up my hat. And then I start going through Trent Reznor's wife's Instagram. She's a singer too. But you always like to see, like, who does a guy like this end up with? What happened? He's getting the cream of the crop. And also that says a lot, because I think Trent Reznor had to become a genius, because Trent Reznor's like 5'7", and it says 5'7" online, which means he's probably like 5'6". This is a small man with a lot of talent. But yeah, I mean, truly just incredible. And I really liked the audience. They were so respectful. Least amount of phones I've seen at a concert in a long time. Part of that is because I'm going to see like Katy Perry, Olivia Rodrigo, and Kesha. So it's me and a bunch of 12-year-olds. At this concert, it's me and, like, I would say the average age at a Nine Inch Nails concert is like 45, I would say, because we have, people well into their 60s, because Trent Reznor himself is 60. And then you have people a little bit younger who got into Nine Inch Nails later. As I said, I got into Nine Inch Nails in high school when I was like 15, I think. And so yeah, they were just like so like into the music. And I'm sure some of them are like a little bit smug, but overall it was great. There was also this kind of subculture of like very, I mean, for lack of a better word, flaming homosexual Nine Inch Nails fans. And I thought that was so interesting, because it doesn't, it's like, it's kind of two worlds coming together. Anyway, I just really loved it. It was the fastest 90 minutes of my life, because it was just like so perfect, such a production. And it just shows, how important so many other people besides the artists are on the tour, though. Like, I know Nine Inch Nails works with, and I guess they're still working with them. But for a long time, and I'm assuming, I didn't even look it up, they worked with a really kind of prestigious lighting designer. And you can shell out money in dancers, and I need dancers and everything, and this is different. You can't have dancers for Nine Inch Nails, but I just think people don't really put as much thought into like lighting design and thinking about the stages going in different areas, or being creative with that kind of approach. And they just think more of like, where can we put the stage so that we can get as much people in the stadium or the arena or whatever it is, and make as much money as possible. And I really think people underutilize lights. And I love to say it, I went to film school, and lighting design is one of the most difficult parts of making a film. So I would assume it's one of the most difficult parts of putting together a live production. I've never worked with it in a musical sense, only like in a theater sense, but like lighting is so powerful. They do so much with it. And if you're someone who's putting together a live show, I just recommend you think about lighting design a lot more, because the lighting design that I've seen in other shows really is not it's not very noticeable, or if they have a lighting designer, obviously it's like they're underutilizing their talents, I think. Go see a Nine Inch Nails show if you're interested in even just lighting design, or if that's something you're studying, because it is a fucking masterclass. If I was a touring artist and I saw a Nine Inch Nails show, you'd have to put me on a wellness check, because I would just be like, I don't know, why am I even doing this anymore? Luckily, I'm a comedian, so not an issue. But anyway, that's my review of it. I just can't stop thinking about it. It was so good. It was so good. I only took my phone out like a couple times to get little clips so I could remember it. And also because I was so close to that box in the middle, I was like, wow, great choice of seating. And I didn't know that they were setting up the stage like that ahead of time. So that was just luck. But man, oh man, phenomenal. So phenomenal. You've never seen Nine Inch Nails, have you, Mike? That's not really your type of music, is it?
No, my industrial starts and ends with like MSI, and even that is like a couple of songs. I don't do that kind of music.
Industrial's my favorite. The first time I listened to it, I was like, "This is my favorite type of music." Okay, yeah, it was just so good. All right, let's move on. Oh, a couple things. Gash is already more than half sold out, even though it's literally 49 days away. So if you're in Los Angeles and you want to come to Gash, October 22nd, I would buy those tickets now, sooner rather than later. That will be sold out. And then New York City, Guys We Fucked presents Slutsgiving. Oh my God. This is 12 years in the making. This is going to be our most comprehensive live show of all time. We're making it so special for New York Comedy Fest. It's going to be a love letter to our fans. It will be part interactive, but not the same kind of interactive show you've seen before. Obviously, maybe some borrowed elements, but just like, we're really, really putting something special together. That's November 14th at the Crown Hill Theater in Brooklyn, right here in New York City. Again, grab those tickets sooner rather than later, because it's New York Comedy Festival, so no shows can be added or anything like that. They are completely packed out for that festival. And, if you are able, also please bring a non-perishable food item to donate. And Christine and I will be driving that ourselves to a local food bank, because it is Slutsgiving and Sluts Give Back too. All right, let's get right into the enemy of the state. Oh my God. So this week's enemy of the state, I, I, I put it as bullshit artists because I didn't want to specifically call out Cory Booker. Cory Booker is a fucker. I want to be loyal to people who have supported me, but I can't get into that bad habit of being loyal to people who are just nice to me or fans of me, because that's what bad politicians do. That's what evil people running our government do. So even though Cory Booker, you have been supportive of me, I have to step away from you just in this moment, because the bullshit is going off the charts, and it's hard at this point for me to stomach it. After the book announcement of fucking Stand, or whatever he's calling his book, after like days after doing the filibuster, he announces that he's writing an entire book about the filibuster. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Yeah, that's coming out in the fall, but just like absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, it's called Stand, right? Yeah, Stand. How could I forget?
Enemy of the state.
So after the announcement of the release of Stand, you were on thin ice. And then, first of all, you're a 56-year-old politician who has dated, not to be rude to your current fiance, but who has dated more interesting people than the one you got engaged to, i.e. Rosario Dawson. And he just made this like really performative announcement. It kind of was giving Tom Cruise jumping on the couch on Oprah about his love for Katie Holmes gay. And to me, it just was like, oh, why out of thin air, seemingly, after dating for like a year and a half, not even that long amount of time, would a 56-year-old man decide, you know what? It's finally time to settle down. What could possibly be the reason? And of course, I go, oh, because he needs himself to look better, to look more traditional, American upstanding man, because he wants to run for president. So obvious. Did a little digging into it a little more. I was looking into more information because it's hard to remember in this news cycle. There's so much going on. And multiple reports talk about how Cory Booker had an issue when he ran for president in 2020 with a lot of people, questioning why he was basically elderly and not married, which, does feel good for that to happen to a man as a, 39-year-old unmarried woman. So it does feel good. And then also on top of it, this is, of course, thinly veiled homophobia by the American people, because I think it's less like there is a more trustworthiness that the American people feel in a married family man. But on top of that, there have also been so many rumors about Cory Booker being gay. And, half the country would absolutely never forgive themselves if they voted for not just a gay man, but a gay black man. How could they ever recover from such a misstep? So to me, I don't know if he's gay or not. I don't really care about that. What I care about is that I don't think he actually wants to be engaged to this person. And this is all steps he's taking to further his career. And all I can say about his fiance, what's her name? I think her name's Alexis. All I can say about her is that I hope, Alexis Lewis. All I can say about her is that I really hope that she's in on this, that she is not someone who just thinks that Cory Booker fell in love with her and loves her more than any woman that he's ever met and decided she's finally the one and she's special. Because I don't want her life to go that way. I hope she knows the truth. You deserve it to know the truth in your life, unless you choose to not see it, I suppose. So that's it. I hope there's some kind of a deal and she's in on this and she's happy to support him and get some money and attention for, whatever she's working on. She's works for a real estate investment firm. So I don't know, how that could be helpful. I mean, unless she's going to release a book later that's like engaged to a gay man, I don't know what she's going to do. Again, whether or not Cory Booker's gay is not the story to me. It's just that he's now engaged to a woman, with very interesting timing. Also, I love that he thought 2 weeks after Taylor, or not even 2 weeks, 2 weeks, a week after Taylor's engagement announcement would be the prime time for him to announce his engagement. Ballsy, Senator Booker. So just a quick story, from the Washington Post. What?
If you are not wearing shoes while asking a woman to marry you,
please,
you don't love her.
Is that? I mean, it was a beach.
I don't care what. Put on some chancletas then. It is what it is.
Oh my God.
Do not be barefoot asking a woman for her hand in marriage.
Do we need to go to the videotape and see? I saw your proposal to Alex. I mean, it's not like you were in a suit.
I had shoes on.
You did.
I had shoes on.
You did.
That's my bare minimum, Corinne. Is that crazy?
No. I was like, were you wearing shorts? I'm pretty sure. So.
Yeah, it had to be a surprise. If I was wearing pants, you would have known something was up.
Right. Okay, fair enough. So this is from the Washington Post. Senator Cory Booker, a former presidential candidate, I feel like that's the Washington Post going wink, wink, is engaged. Because most people, Cory Booker is one of these politicians who, most people know who he is. Senator Cory proposed to his now fiance over the August recess. Senator Cory Booker, a former Democratic presidential candidate whose outspoken opposition to President Donald Trump has drawn national attention, is engaged. Booker, 56, proposed to his girlfriend Alexis Lewis in Hawaii last week during the Senate's August break, according to Maya Krishna Rogers, a Booker spokeswoman. Lewis, 38, works for a real estate investment firm. She and Booker started dating last year after she was set up on a blind date by a mutual friend, and they have been living together in Washington. The blind date with the mutual friend is also kind of like Corey going through his Rolodex being like, do any of you have someone who's just kind of like, and also like 30, like as a 39-year-old woman, let me tell you, if you've kind of given up on men and just want to get married to say you're married and then like, you know, add a little bonus to it that it's a prominent man and it'll get you some recognition and like, you know, fuck it, you've given up on love and you're kind of just doing it for the love of the game. 38 is the age that you do it at. So even more sus, because when I was going through this information yesterday, her age wasn't available yet, and then the Washington Post found it. And this quote. Listen, I don't care if he's gay, but if he's trying to convince us that he's not, this quote did not help. Okay. I am savoring the soul-affirming wonder of everyday life with my partner, best friend, and now fiance, Booker wrote in an Instagram post announcing the engagement. You know, if this man was straight, the announcement would be like, so happy to marry Alexis. You have made me a better man, a better politician. It would be something about how her being in his life has made him so much better, and nothing about her. So Corey, very gay to give her any accolades, to be honest. A real tell.
He also followed that up with, I'm not gay no more.
Oh my God. Is that your quote? It sounds like Mr. T. What kind of a...
No, it's like a very popular internet meme of like a kid who like went through conversion camp and he gets up in church and he's like, I'm not gay no more. It's like, all right, dude.
Oh my God. Wow. Oh, wait. Okay, so there's a little more straightness when you actually go to the Instagram post. Alexis is one of the greatest unearned blessings of my life. She has transformed me. That could also mean into not a gay man, but this is the kind of straightness. She has transformed me, helping me to ground and center my inner life and discover the joys of building a nurturing home with someone you love. That last part was a little questionable, but the helping me and transforming me, that's very like straight man coded. I am thrilled to share Alexis and I are engaged. I am savoring the soul-affirming wonder of everyday life with my partner, best friend, and now my fiance. Also crazy to call someone you've known for a year and a half your best friend, but okay. We are excited for this journey ahead, having so much fun and feeling deeply grateful for the love, support, and energy so many of you have shared with us. We are truly blessed to be surrounded by such a beautiful community, lifting us in love and commitment. This guy's running for president. Booker has never married, which sparked questions when he ran for president in 2020. During an appearance on the radio show The Breakfast Club in 2019, my man, Charlemagne the God, pointed out that Booker would be one of only a handful of unmarried presidents if elected, which, yeah, my mind immediately went to that when this engagement was announced. Booker responded by raising the possibility of a future engagement. First of all, there's 2 more years until I might fulfill this duty, so give me some time. So we have receipts on The Breakfast Club. And if you're going to get a receipt, no better place to get it from The Breakfast Club. No more trusted of a source, especially in New York City politics, than the damn Breakfast Club. Ugh. I love Charlemagne so much. Okay. My girlfriend might listen to this. He repeated the sentiment the following month. I hate it that people assume I'd be a bachelor president, Booker told the Washington Post with a big laugh. It's literally 700 days from now. You never know. So him and his team had a fucking meeting that was like, I don't care who you marry. I don't care who we find. You have to get a wife by the time your next presidential campaign starts. Booker, a former Newark mayor, was elected to the Senate in 2013. He drew national attention this year by speaking for more than blah, 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 blah. We're not even getting into that. Booker has pressed Democrats to confront Trump more forcefully, blah, blah, blah. This, to me, is the problem with Democrats in America right now. We're willing to be complicit to Donald Trump to let this pass through when we all have the leverage right now that there is. I'm sure that'll be quoted in his book, The Stand, coming out this fall. Stand, coming out this fall. Booker, arriving at the Capitol on Tuesday for the first time as an engaged senator, faced questions from reporters about a federal judge's ruling in an antitrust case involving Google. He started to respond, at which point Klobuchar gleefully jumped in to deflect the question. "He's in the middle of his marital bliss," she said. Booker said the proposal had been 6 weeks in the making and that he managed to surprise his fiancée. 6 weeks is not a long time. I don't know why he made that public. You should be when you're thinking about a proposal. Most men I know, are thinking about it for like months. 6 weeks? That's not a long time. Mike, how long did you think about your proposal for? 7 weeks.
Yeah, if that. I
But
mean,
you always knew you knew for a long time. I mean, you knew from like the day you met Alex that you wanted to marry her, didn't you?
pretty much.
Yeah.
It was close to that, but no, it was like I don't know, like we were talking about it, and I I remember I had reached out to Josh about like planning to do it during the goddamn comedy
Josh
jam.
Adam Myers.
Josh Adam Myers, yeah,
Creator of
sorry.
the goddamn comedy jam, for those of you who are like, what are we talking about?
Josh Adam Myers, very, very funny comedian and host of the goddamn comedy jam. I reached out to him about doing the proposal there, and that was maybe like a month out.
Okay.
I asked her dad maybe a month out. So it's like, I don't know. I think 6 weeks is the right amount. Like if you decide, okay, this is the person I want to marry.
Oh, but that's for telling other. So you're saying 6 weeks for telling other people. Yeah, I agree with that, because you can't have that information floating around too long, because someone's going to, ruin the surprise.
Yeah. But if the thought popped into your head 6 weeks ago, hey, I should maybe marry this woman.
Yeah, that's more what I'm talking about. Okay, so we don't know what the 6 weeks meant. Maybe he was only planning it for 6 weeks, as far as like letting other people know. We'll let that slide. Hopefully you can see that look on her face, he said in a brief interview. That look that I wrote her a check to make. All right, so this is not about attacking Cory Booker, but the reason why I wanted to point things like that is number one, like, Cory Booker is one of our beloved, most beloved Democrats, kind of, a real poster boy for like good democracy right now. And I find so much that like all the left-leaning people I follow on Instagram are always ready to call bullshit or nonsense on things that Republicans do that are really transparent. But smart people that I respect, people whose opinions I listen to and actually digest, fall for this kind of Democratic bullshit a lot. And like, just because a Democrat is doing it, like, oh, he must really be in love. Like, Cory Booker is such a good guy. He must have actually really found love. And I guess the reason I want to talk about this, and why Cory Booker and bullshit artists in general are the enemy of the state, is because like we need to have the same discerning eye for our people as we have for their people, if it's an us versus them, right? And I just see too many Democrats, again, smart people, falling for this absolute bullshit. And I don't exactly know how you get through politics or how you move up in the ranks of politics without doing all this stage shit, i.e. Brad Lander, getting arrested, i.e. Zoran Mamdani running through to yell in the guy's face, all these things that help them win elections. And I don't think it makes them bad people, but when it's performance after performance, and that's also what we, the public, respond to, like, what do you fucking expect? There's just so much performance on both sides. And I feel like the people who are more like keeping their head down, getting the work done, a little less interesting, a little less in the headlines, those are the people that we probably should be trusting the most, but like they're never going to get to the top without doing some of these performances. And like, if we want more truth in politics, we want less bullshit, we have to stop giving people all this attention for these kind of performative things. And I've seen more conversations of like people knowing that it's performance. I've seen a lot of people, especially when it came to like the filibuster or the Brad Lander thing specifically, that they were like, yeah, I mean, like, of course it was timed, in a way where it would help their career. But like we should, you should be getting arrested for, helping immigrants or whatever it is. It's like, okay, but would you give the same pass if this was something being done by a Republican? Like, I don't know that you would. And if we see so I think it's good that we're at least starting to acknowledge that we know that it's a performance, but why are we still being like, I like that performance, I guess is my follow-up question. That's what still bothers me, because there's too much important work to be done to be putting on stage productions, and I just really don't like it. And it also, annoys me that Cory Booker feels like, if he is a closeted homosexual, or if he's just a guy who doesn't fucking want to get married and has decided that he's dedicated his life to politics, like that's also okay. And it makes me sad in a way that we still live in such an archaic country in our views around relationships, that we are so distracted by a single man running for president that it would affect the amount of votes he got. To me, that just said, this guy is actually like, it's not like he's someone like Eric Adams, who's known for like going out and clubbing and doing stuff he's not supposed to be doing. It's not, he's had a couple girlfriends in the time that he's been in the public eye. And like, yes, one of them was a famous actress, Rosario Dawson, but like, it's not so crazy. I don't think that's super crazy. She is from this neck of the woods. Like, it makes sense that they would be in the similar spaces. So I don't know. But I just, all I ask is that you have the same level of like the same bullshit meter for Democrats that you do for Republicans, because I just see so many Democrats just falling for this nonsense time and time again, and I have to get myself sometimes out of the pattern of falling for it, because when I first saw that filibuster, I was like kind of excited, and then I read into it more. Of course, I came here, Mike burst my bubble a little bit about it, and then when you released the book, I go, you got to be fucking kidding me. You got to be fucking kidding me. That actually pissed me off. And then I just like looked also at a poll from earlier this year about, who was interested, or who people were interested in seeing run for president. I know now, Mike, didn't you tell me that Gavin Newsom was now in the lead? Your mic's off.
Yeah, according to, it was either Kalshi or Polymarket, I can't remember, one of those like online predictor things that was so on point with the 2020 election, now says that Gavin Newsom has it was like a 2-1 or 3-1 lead against the next closest opponent, which I think was AOC.
Right. Well, yeah, because I was like, every AOC people have been waiting for, obviously, like she was too young for a long time. She just hit that 35 year mark last year where she was even eligible to run for such an office. So I know people have been kind of chomping at the bit for AOC. According to this like Deseret News article that was published April 15th, 2025, Kamala Harris was still in the lead. I don't think the Democrats would run her again. I think that would be wild. And Cory Booker was number 2 in this poll. And then after that, it was Pete Buttigieg and AOC tied at 7%, Tim Walz 5%, and Gavin Newsom 4%. But when we look at that period of time since, April 2025 and now, Gavin Newsom has done a lot of work. And I guess I wish, what I would really like is someone to do an internal, some kind of an audit where it's like, how much work that Gavin Newsom done since April that has actually affected the people of California, and how much of the work that Gavin Newsom has done since April 2025 has only been like performative and only positively affected Gavin Newsom. Because like a lot of the things that we like about him and that he's got attention for in these past couple of months were things like trolling Donald Trump, which many people say, like, is that even him or is that his staff? And like, yes, it's funny. And yes, we know that gets under Donald Trump's skin. And yes, it's been a big talking point that Democrats have to be active, not just reactive. Although I would say like trolling Donald Trump is still a little bit reactive. But just like going for the jugular a little bit more, I think a lot of people agree that the Democrats need to do that. But it's like in this period of time, like, so what has Gavin Newsom accomplished for the people of California?
So I heard,
And I know like he obviously has work to do with the fires and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that I'm not happy about how he's handling that at all. It's just been a giant governmental sell-off. Like people who lost their homes are now selling the land for pennies on the dollar because there's no federal assistance coming in to like help with the recovery efforts, help with the rebuilding efforts. It's just a giant land grab for big corporations.
Well, also we know FEMA's a mess, so how the hell are they supposed to recover from that when half the people from FEMA are gone?
Okay. You're not wrong. But the one good thing I saw that he did was he's like gerrymandering California to counterbalance the gerrymandering in Texas.
Yeah. Okay. Gavin Newsom signs. Okay, so yeah, I was looking up what kind of things that he's doing. So he signed in January a $2.5 billion wildfire aid package into law. And July, there's an article about him signing a housing bill overhauling California's landmark environmental law. Let's see. I want to read into this a little bit. Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law an overhaul of California's landmark environmental protection rules that he says is essential to address the state's critical housing shortage and long-running homeless crisis. And this is interesting because we know California is always at the forefront when it comes to like animal rights and environmental law, often like when we're talking about the states in the United States. The Democratic governor, widely seen as a potential 2028 presidential candidate, called the two-bill package a historic reshaping of environmental rules that, while initially well-intentioned, too often resulted in tangles of litigation and costly delays that strangled much-needed development. Newsom said the bills, which he signed Monday night in Sacramento, represent the most consequential housing reform in recent California history. In general, the idea is to hasten reviews of housing projects under certain conditions, such as in dense urban communities. And this makes sense. A lot of the same housing issues were happening in New York City. Again, that kind of goes into that book that I always forget that came out. What the hell was that book that we were referencing like nonstop? Whatever. But this makes sense that basically that, liberal areas a lot of times have so many rules that it's impossible to get housing to people because there's so much litigation to go through. So that makes sense. And that's him like I guess deciding, if I'm going to get people to vote for me, I think housing is a more pressing issue than the environment. I think possibly young voters might disagree with that. Like I said, I think Gen Z very concerned about the environment when they're voting. But, it looks like he's still been actually doing a decent amount of work for the people of California. So let's hope, again, he's not just someone who's going to drop all the work that he's done so far and become a performative guy running for president. I honestly think that when you're like running for office, you shouldn't be able to hold the office that you are currently in. I think you should have to give it up to somebody else if you decide to campaign for a new office, because it's pretty much impossible to do the job that you were elected to do while running a campaign. A campaign takes up all of your time, especially a presidential campaign. And, people deserve to have their elected official continue to work for them. And it's fine. I think that you're allowed to decide that you want to move on to a greater office, but I don't think you should be able to be governor while you're running for president. There's just no way to do the work that you need to do. It's really crazy that we even allow this.
Speaking of California and housing in California, did you see the Pod Save America guys?
No, what did they do?
There was like it was trending pretty popular. Like I think like around this time last week and into this week, it's one of the guys has like a representative or city council member for LA, and like they asked point blank, "Hey, what are you doing for the housing crisis?"
Right.
And this woman's response was, "Well, we got a thing down from 3 stories to 2 stories, and we added electric parking outside. So like
for one building."
Yeah. So it's like her answer for how they're providing more housing is how the city cut down on a proposed new housing structure from 3 stories to 1 story.
What went through her mind that made her think that was a good answer?
Because that's just the closest litigation that she's passed, and the fact that it has like the electric spaces out front are supposed to offset the fact that, you know what I mean? Like the party messaging is, as long as we're in advancing green initiatives, then we're doing the right thing. So she fell back on that messaging when asked a point blank question about housing and didn't realize that she in fact said the worst possible thing she could have said.
Right, because I mean, like, just when you just like if you didn't tell me like who this person was, like which party she was a member of, and you just told me like this is an elected official asked about housing, this was their response. You just let your brain think about it, like truly like a child being presented with a word problem in school, and you go, that doesn't make sense. That's less housing, not more. Like that's the way I actually try to think about things, and I try to when I read stories, I try to I just go, give me like the facts here, and then I'll go back and read who represents what state, who is in what party. It's hard to like scan past that information, but I feel like it helps you come to a better decision that is not clouded by preconceived notions about each party. But that's really crazy. So I'm actually glad that Gavin Newsom, that article from July is good, because I think that's the kind of moves that need to be made. And again, it's not it's not like I'm not super concerned about the environment, but I am more concerned about the homelessness crisis in this country. People need to be in homes. What was the?
Oh, I found that clip. If you want to.
Yeah, I mean, is it going to mess us up for?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
This is like widely spread on X. So
I would like to know who specifically, what this person's name is.
Her name is Imelda Padilla, a Los Angeles City Councilwoman.
Okay, because I was like, she looks really young, so City Council makes sense. Okay.
This is her on Pod Save America.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, the podcast that I was most, the political podcast appearance of the week, I do think is, still the Adam Friedland, Ritchie Torres, which is we're going to talk about later for sure. I didn't even get to watch it, but I just read enough and talked to enough people who did watch it.
Great.
Go ahead.
That's important, but are you focused on what will ultimately make California affordable for the people in your district?
Well, I am. And this is why I said, speak for yourself. And that's why I also said, we can't assume that the superhero here is the developer. So for example, under the emergency ordinance, I'm bringing a set of tiny homes into an underutilized Metrolink parking station. I didn't have to do any outreach, but I started a neighborhood watch. And I also had a whole town hall related to addressing that component. And there's also an 81 that's being built on Victory and Balboa. And going back to what you said, the neighbors didn't want it at all. They just didn't want the density. They wanted me to kill it. But by law, I really have no jurisdiction anymore because it's an ED1, right? But we still, as a team, got together with the developer, the high school across the street, other stakeholders, and instead of building something that was potentially 6 stories, we got it down to 3 stories. And we also got the developer to also work with us to make sure that it helps the families of the area. We also said, instead of a ton of office space, we do want you to also incorporate a few more parking lots and EV chargers. So yeah, I mean, there's some developers that have.
Well, to me, it seemed like what I understand, but like when I see it, it makes me think like, she's saying the neighbors didn't want the density. So to me, it's saying more like, well, we came to a compromise rather than we did less. That's what it felt like to me more so.
She's saying that the developers are the issue here. And she's like, so I went back and forth with the developer and I got the developer to cut 3 stories out. And it's
she says previously the neighbors didn't want the density.
Yeah, that's the people, that's your constituents, you're a politician, that's what you're in charge of managing.
Right.
You know what I mean? To vilify the developer there when the developer is trying to build a 6-story residence. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I'm saying, she represents the constituents. So if the constituents don't want is she talking about density as in population density or as in density of like buildings? I'm confused coming so late into because to me it seems like the people in the neighborhood didn't want so much more building because it would be so crowded in that area, and then they came to a compromise. She came to a compromise with the developer as a member of city council.
Yeah, I mean, look, for a city council member to get on there and say, yeah, I mean, our answer to the housing problem is we're going to have more tiny homes in Los Angeles. That's not a real answer to me.
No, well, I mean, obviously, you need to have way more big buildings. I'm like, tiny homes, I actually do think serve a purpose, but you're going to have to build a lot of tiny homes for that to solve the issue with the size of the issue right now. Like, I mean, that would be a wild thing to do in New York City, but California is different. There's a little more space there. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously I see by the host's face, that he openly laughed in her face, that he thought that was bad. Obviously, like Pod Save America, they're like a little smug too, but all the political podcasters are a little smug. It's kind of like the problem.
If you broke into politics writing speeches for Obama, and now this is a representative for the Democratic Party answering the question, what are you doing to provide more affordable housing? I think I too would think, am I in the Twilight Zone?
For sure. I mean, with Barack Obama, I mean, the key to his success is like what an orator he is. I mean, like you're not going to be able to really beat Barack Obama when it comes into, and also someone who, I mean, Bill Clinton was really good at doing public appearances, late night appearances, that kind of thing. But like Barack Obama, I feel like is the president that started the kind of like podcast style, I'm going to talk to the American people like we're chilling in a living room type campaign that has really affected, many campaigns that we saw after that. So they're used to working with true greatness when it comes to speaking. And it's also hard because like city council just like really isn't that high of a position. And like the purpose of the city council is for it to be a group of people who is kind of keeping an eye on the mayor, mostly. Like that's kind of their job. It's like, think of it as a large watchdog group for each district to make sure that particular district is being served in the way it needs to be served, and that the mayor isn't fucking off, for lack of a better phrase. But I don't know. Like, I don't know why all these people are even agreeing to do these appearances and seemingly not going in super media trained. It seems like an absolute recipe for disaster. So it's like now if you're a relatively unknown politician, your mainstream introduction, especially when you're doing a podcast as big as Pod Save America, is going to be this viral moment where everyone's making fun of you for being, a fuck up. That's not good.
It's rough. We also got a super chat.
What does the super chat say?
Elise McCall. This is actually like positive, or I wouldn't have broken in with it. It's to the Cory Booker thing. It's similar to the influencer topic last week. It's becoming impossible to trust anyone online for fear they're being paid. And for politics, we can't believe anyone for fear it's all performance.
Yeah. And it's something that I think about a lot as being someone who ran for office, and then also, and also does a political podcast, because it just makes me think it's like, it's only a matter of time before like you guys aren't going to believe me, because honestly, at a point, why would you believe anyone? Like it kind of like hurts my feelings because I worked so hard to like make sure that I'm always telling the truth, and I feel good about the stuff that I'm saying, and probably fucking 9 times out of 10 I'm telling you way more than I should, especially on this show. I go rogue on this show. And even with like running for office, like I was really honest and open about that experience. But, you know, now with my hindsight being 2020, I see so many things that would have needed to be done that were performative and that were more over the top to get more attention on the campaign. And like just being genuine it doesn't seem like enough. So like, what do you do? What do you do? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm just thinking out loud here. But like, yeah, it makes me really nervous when things come out constantly about not being able to trust people. You know, it makes me think like the whole internet is going to fall in on itself pretty soon. All right, let's move on to the wacko mailbag because we don't need to talk about Cory Booker anymore. This is municipal news out of North Carolina from Wacko Tara. Oh, this one's pretty funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's like horrible, but it is funny. So this is from WFMY News, which is a CBS affiliate. And it says Surrey County Board of Elections chairman resigns after being accused of putting drugs in granddaughter's ice cream. See, and Tara, I know you sent me a couple stories in that email. I'm purposely, just so I'm being transparent with you guys, I'm purposely kind of picking out of what you send me and out of what I see the most outlandish stories, because I don't want municipal politics to be like climate change in that I don't want you to think of it as uninteresting stuff. So I'm picking the most dramatic soap opera-esque stories to encourage you to genuinely want to read municipal politics, read news about it. I myself am doing a good job of I don't want to say brainwashing, but of having this effect on me, because genuinely at this point, I get more excited to read the municipal stories than I do to read the national or international stories, because these are so wild. And again, such corruption festering, and just not enough people are talking about it. And so I'm choosing these stories to share with you, in hopes that you also become interested and engaged by them. And it makes you pay attention more to the municipal politics that are happening in your town, which then makes it, kind of second nature to vote in those elections. So that's kind of my thought process behind this. I understand the value of entertainment. Obviously, I'm in the entertainment business, so I'm trying to entertain you to get you more engaged in municipal politics. It's not I guess it is kind of a trick, but I'm telling you the trick. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I hope this segment. And I mean, a lot of you have written me back saying like, I am reading about municipal politics more. This is the first time I voted in that, or, the other election. So great. Because I'm certainly more engaged in municipal politics from, running for mayor and just from reading this week after week. It's absolutely nuts, the stuff that is going on. So he resigned on August 28th also, don't worry. Wilmington, North Carolina, the chairman of the Surrey County Board of Elections is facing charges after police said he allegedly put drugs into the ice cream of his 2 granddaughters. On August 8th, the Wilmington Police Department said an officer was flagged down by 66-year-old James Yokley at the Sheets, which is like a Wawa type thing, like a rest stop, but also like a little fast food restaurant on Shipyard Boulevard. Yokley told the officer that his 2 granddaughters had discovered hard objects in ice cream they purchased from a Dairy Queen. Medical personnel checked both children and determined they had not ingested the substances. His arrest warrant says the blue pill tested positive for cocaine and MDMA. also called Molly or ecstasy. For those of you who don't club, police said the pills were collected and a preliminary field test indicated that they contained illegal narcotics. The substances were sent to the state lab for further confirmation. Detectives reviewed video footage and determined that Yoakley had placed the pills into the children's Dairy Queen blizzards, according to police. Like, yeah, I mean, if you're going to drug someone, you have to open it up and sprinkle the powder in it, not put the whole pill in, Grandpa. Yoakley has been charged with 2 counts of contaminating food or drink with a controlled substance, felony possession of a Schedule 1 substance, and felony child abuse inflicting serious physical injury. He was arrested on August 26 and transported to the New Hanover County Detention Center, where he posted a $100,000 secured bond. According to the Surrey County Board of Elections website, Yoakley was recently appointed by State Auditor Dave Boliak to serve as chair of the Surrey County Board of Elections for the 2025-2027 term. Yoakley submitted his resignation on Thursday, August 28th, according to the Surrey County Board of Elections. WFMY News 2 acquired the resignation letter. Here's what it said. I am writing to formally resign from my position as board chair with the Surrey County Board of Elections, effective immediately. This decision has not been made lightly. After much prayer, thoughtful reflection, and consultation, I have concluded that it's in the best interest of the State Board of Elections and Surrey County Board of Elections regarding my own falsely accused circumstances to step down at this time. Falsely accused circumstances? Bro, we have video. What are you even talking about right now? Based on the truth and facts, I remain prayerfully is that a real word? I gotta look. Prayerfully? I don't think that's an actual word, is it? Prayerfully? Oh, it is a real word. Wow. Prayerfully. In a way that involves praying or is like praying. Never fucking, I guess that's, of course, fan of Satan over here. I'm not. Let's see. I remain prayerfully confident, new word, prayerfully, that I will be exonerated of all accusations levied against me. During my tenure serving on the Surrey County Board of Elections, I have been honored to serve a board guided by fairness, integrity, and a steadfast commitment to the constitutional republic process. I'm pleased of the work we have accomplished together to serve the citizens of Surrey County and those in my home state of North Carolina. I remain deeply committed to ensuring a smooth and effective transition. Like, if this guy is drugging his own granddaughters, can you imagine what he's doing to people's signature pages, to their petitions when they're trying to run for mayor? Thank you for the opportunity to serve alongside such dedicated public servants. I wish the State Board, the Surrey County Board of Elections, and our electorate continued success moving forward. Authorities said the investigation is still ongoing. And obviously, the main question that everyone's asking with this, and I looked at a couple more articles, and there doesn't seem to be like, what was his motive? Like, I can almost understand if, like, you're in charge of taking care of your grandkids for a few days and you put like a downer in their ice cream because they're acting up or something. But I don't understand why would you drug kids with cocaine and MDMA? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, if you go to the most grotesque parts of your mind and you think, like, was he trying to molest them? Was he like, what was he trying to do? Because cocaine and MDMA just don't make any sense for a state that you would want. Like, you would either want them like calm, I'm guessing, or in a state where you could commit an act of like violence or sexual assault against them. And this doesn't make sense like, did he just want to party with his grandkids? I don't get it. Mike, you're better with drug knowledge than me. What are your thoughts with drugging children with these drugs?
I mean, my first thought was MDMA and cocaine is that I think they call it pink cocaine.
Okay.
Like, it's like it is some new street drug. But I mean, that's also, by the way, like the most lethal combination.
Oh, was he trying to kill them, you think?
I don't know. But I know that, like, there is something about, like, if, you know, what I do know about drugs is if you're on Molly, do not do bumps. Like, because it can create some kind of, like, toxicity in your brain that can really hurt you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like when you're on Molly, I don't mix it with anything. Yeah, I'm looking. Like, what would you... Oh, my God. Yeah, and then just cocaine in general. Giving a child cocaine fucking kill them. All right, so that's wild, Tara. Thank you for sending that in. Then we have Liz sent in a story from October 2024, which she noted, but she thought it was interesting nonetheless, and something that some people know about that we haven't discussed here. This is from the NewJerseyMonitor.com. Feds hit TD Bank with a $3 billion in penalties for money laundering scheme benefiting drug traffickers. Were you aware of this, Mike?
No, this is news to me.
Federal authorities have slapped TD Bank with $3 billion in penalties and ordered federal oversight for its staggering and pervasive money laundering failures that enabled international drug traffickers and other criminals to launder more than $670 million through the nation's 10th largest bank. I do want to point out also, I recently have a TD Bank account because when you're running a campaign, you have to get a special political bank account, and only certain banks do them. And I went to like all my regular banks that I bank at, and none of them did it. So I had to take on yet another bank. TD Bank is one of the banks that does it. And I go, well, it doesn't really surprise me that one of the few banks that do political accounts is also money laundering. That checks out. The bank had inadequate controls in place to detect money laundering. You hear that, Cuomo? And even facilitated it with bank employees, including managers, accepting bribes and joking with their colleagues about enabling criminal activity, U.S. Attorney General Merrick B. Garland said during a Thursday news conference in Washington, D.C. Bank officials pleaded guilty Thursday before U.S. District Judge Esther Salas in Newark to multiple felonies, including conspiring to violate the Bank Secrecy Act and commit money laundering, Garland said. Our laws dictate that the narcotics traffickers who flood our communities with deadly drugs cannot use American financial institutions to move their money, and our anti-money laundering laws dictate that a bank that willfully fails to protect against criminal schemes is also a criminal. That is what TD Bank was, because it failed to maintain an adequate anti-money laundering program between January 2014 and October 2023. That's a long period of time. Over a 6-year period from January 2018 through last April, TD Bank failed to monitor $18.3 trillion in customer activity. It's a lot. Which allowed 3 money laundering networks, 2 in New Jersey and 1 in Puerto Rico, to transfer more than $670 million through TD Bank accounts. In one example given by Deputy Secretary of the Treasury Wally Adeyemo, bank employees filed false or misleading reports to hide more than $400 million in laundered money for traffickers selling fentanyl and other deadly drugs. One alleged trafficker alone gave bank employees at least $57,000 in gift cards as bribes. Woof! U.S. Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco said TD Bank officials knew of their shortcomings in protecting against money laundering, but failed repeatedly to act or properly fund the bank's compliance program, even as profits rose. In 2013, federal regulators began penalizing the bank for the lack of money laundering controls. But as the light continued blinking red, TD Bank could only see green. Oh, Lisa Monaco, if you need a comedy writer, I'm available. Every bank compliance official in America should be reviewing today's charges as a case study of what not to do, and every bank CEO and board member should be doing the same. Because if the business case for compliance wasn't clear before, it should be now. This is pretty fucking wild. Garland and Philip Selinger, the U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, said bank employees even found humor in their lax controls. I mean, it is funny, I guess. And it's also like, if you're a bank employee, you're not making that much money. Like, I don't understand how, like, officials, obviously, like, these people could be in, like, really, deep legal trouble. But, like, yeah, when you're getting underpaid and you think you're fucking over the institution that's underpaying you and like probably not treating you very nicely as an employee. I don't know how TD Bank is to work at. Honestly, it seems pretty pleasant when I go in. But like, this is what people aren't catching on to. Like, these large institutions have to start treating people better. Otherwise, there is no loyalty. Like, we're not in olden times anymore. People know that they're getting fucked over and they're mad about it. And they're fighting back in illegal ways. The motto, America's Most Convenient Bank, was used as a joke among employees. That's pretty funny. To describe TD Bank being convenient for criminals, Selinger said. I mean, we all have workplace jokes. In August 2021, Garland said one bank manager emailed another, "You guys really need to shut this down. LOL." In a in a February 2021 exchange, after an alleged drug trafficker bought more than $1 million in official bank checks with cash in a single day, an employee asked a colleague, "How is that not money laundering?" The staffer responded, "Oh, it 100% is." Well, at least they understand the business. With its plea agreement Thursday, TD Bank became the largest bank in U.S. history to plead guilty to Bank Secrecy Act program failures, and the first bank in history to plead guilty to conspiracy to commit money laundering, Garland said. The fines ordered are the largest ever under the Bank Secrecy Act, and the first time the Justice Department has assessed a daily fine against a bank as part of the plea agreement. As part of its plea deal, bank officials agreed to forfeit $452 million, pay a $1.4 billion criminal fine, as well as other civil penalties, overhaul the company's compliance program, hire an independent monitor to oversee its compliance for 3 years, and report employee misconduct to federal authorities. So now, it was all fun and games, and now if anyone fucks around, they're going to jail. Officials also agreed to growth limits so that the total assets of its U.S. subsidiaries cannot exceed $443 billion. The Justice Department has prosecuted 24 people for their involvement in the schemes. Investigators identified 5 bank insiders who were involved and 2 who have been criminally charged. The investigation is ongoing, and the bank is expected to cooperate with investigators as a condition of its plea agreement. No one involved in TD Bank's illegal conduct will be off limits. We will follow the evidence wherever it leads. Bharat Masrani, Group President and Chief Executive Officer of Canada-based TD Bank Group, said the bank has taken full responsibility for the failures of its U.S. subsidiaries and is making the changes required. The bank has more than 10 million customers in the U.S., he noted. "This is a difficult chapter in our bank's history. These failures took place on my watch as CEO, and I apologize to all our stakeholders." Alan McGibbon, board chair of TD Bank Group, said the company appointed new leaders across the bank's U.S. operations. "Money laundering is a serious global threat, and our U.S. operations did not maintain an adequate AML, which stands for Anti-Money Laundering program, to thwart criminal activity," McGibbon said. "The board has and continues to take action to address these failures and hold those responsible accountable." That was very juicy. Thank you for sharing that, Liz. Oh, my God.
A couple of things from the chat here.
Yes.
They're very active tonight.
Okay.
Very, very on board. So first off, BioFarts wanted to...
And you know what? I want to hear what BioFarts has to say. This is the kind of news show this is. I bet they don't have BioFarts listening to Pod Save America, so suck it.
He says the thing that I'm talking about, the pink cocaine, is 2C, and it has neither cocaine nor Molly in it, but it's amalgamation.
So that was just misinformation that you shared with us.
Yeah. 2C,
Okay.
It's 100% misinformation.
Has anyone in the chat, like, I looked up drug combos really quick, but I wanted to know, like, when you mix cocaine and MDA, what the result is. Did anyone in the chat have an answer for that?
No, but we did get an email, a text
Okay.
into the chat line,
Okay.
which is again 201-308-3510. That the actual worst thing to mix is not cocaine; it is Molly and alcohol. It creates like a toxic byproduct that neither individual makes, but when you put them together, it's really bad.
Oh, see, I always never drank alcohol on Molly because I thought you ran a really high risk of like dehydrating to a lethal level. But I didn't know there was actually like a toxin that was being created. But yeah, I mean, I thought the rule with Molly was always kind of like just drink water and enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah, chill.
Yeah, just chill.
And then there was one other thing in here. Oh, Holly Gossip had a theory on the
Biofarts and Holly Gossip.
Holly Gossip is
I don't know who any of these people are I don't know people by their YouTube names.
Well, she reached out and said, I feel like what he was doing was trying to sue the store. He went to put the pills in, and then he went to the front to say an employee must have done it so he could get money from them.
I mean, do it to yourself then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's more sensational to do it to a kid.
Right. Or just do it to the one that you like less, not both of them. That's crazy. Wow. Okay. All right. I'm just still astounded. Like, not that I want this for children, but like it would make more sense if it was something like, the date rape drug or like, something like just cocaine. What? Cocaine and MDMA? These children's hearts are going to explode. All right. Well, I'm glad they're observant children. All right. So moving on, there's one hilarious municipal story out of New York. I mean, not that funny. We knew it was coming. We knew Trump was going to start meddling a little more than he already was in the New York City mayor's race because everyone's, shaking in their boots about how beloved Zoran Mamdani is. Not me, but these people are. And Eric Adams has no fucking shot, but he is actively taking votes away from Andrew Cuomo. So everyone's basically playing a game. How can we get Eric Adams out of this equation? And Eric Adams, he's busy hanging out with Sneeko and Amber Rose. So he's busy. He's going to nightclubs in Miami. He doesn't have time for this. And so Politico, that's where this article is from, NYC Mayor Eric Adams faces a decision, a Trump administration post to drop his reelection campaign. So basically, Donald Trump is offering Eric Adams a job to try and get him out of the race so that Cuomo can win. And I'm sure there's like some threats under the table, maybe. I'm guessing Trump is like making some kind of a threat to Eric Adams. If he's smart, I guess he would, but we don't really know what's going on. Eric Adams' staff is very busy putting money in potato chip bags, so they don't have time for this. The embattled New York City mayor was offered an HUD post. A person familiar with the talk tells Politico. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been reluctant to abandon his bid for re-election. And it's crazy because it's such an issue of pride. And like at a certain point, you can just say like, the people of New York City don't like me and I'm going to step down. I don't want to represent a city that doesn't want me to represent it. But instead, he's just going to stay in the race and then like come in third as the incumbent, which is crazy behavior. Maybe even fourth, like because Curtis Sliwa, I think, actually might beat him. So like imagine coming in fourth for the city that you're already the mayor of. Embarrassing. But an influential post in President Donald Trump's administration could incentivize him to bow out and make it easier to halt Zoran Mamdani's rise. Adams has been offered a position at the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, according to a person with direct knowledge of the offer who was granted anonymity to speak candidly about a sensitive matter. And I want to say, as far as job offers go, although I don't think Eric Adams is doing much of anything lately, if there is, if there was like one of two offices that he would actually seemingly be qualified for, it would be something having to do with housing or something having to do with like safety. But the kind of like safety he does is more municipal safety. But I actually think when you look at the stats, when you look at what he promised as far as housing development, and his, City of Yes proposal and everything, the Adams administration here in New York City actually did a pretty decent job of building new housing. So I don't think this is a crazy job offer. I don't think this is, it's crazy that Donald Trump is getting involved in the New York City mayoral election, but we knew that was going to happen. But I actually think this job offer kind of makes sense. The mayor, who has a friendly working and political relationship with Trump, met with the president's team during his visit Tuesday to Florida, two people familiar with the plan said. A White House official would neither confirm nor deny that Trump advisors are talking with Adams. The Trump administration's machinations were first reported by the New York Times, which also reported discussions of finding a position for Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa to get him out of the race. Sliwa should jump on that. he should jump on that. That's an amazing opportunity for Curtis Sliwa. Sliwa has previously rejected the idea of serving in the Trump administration, but good on him for sitting on his morals. Worried about New York City being led by a Democratic socialist, Republicans, centrist Democrats, and business community leaders have been eager to consolidate anti-Mamdani voters behind one candidate, which is the absolute only way that he can be beaten. I actually don't think, looking at the numbers right now, there's any chance of beating Mamdani.
We already saw him one-on-one versus Cuomo.
Well, I'm not talking about debating him. I'm talking about just
I'm saying
votes.
like in a race. It was a two-party race for the mayor, right? Unfortunately, my boy Michael Blake's not really in it. But I'm saying if you get rid of everybody else, it's still just Cuomo versus Mamdani, and Cuomo got destroyed earlier this year.
Yes, but that's also going off a very small percentage of voters, because people who show up for primary is number one. It can only be people who are registered with the Democratic Party. So now we have Republicans and independents in the mix. Which, if you're a registered Democrat, you're going to probably in New York, you're going to probably be voting a little more left. So there is a lot of extra voters that they have to play with. And then also think of people who normally, so many people don't come out to vote in a year when it's not a presidential election at all, period, hard stop. But what gets people to the polls more than fear? Nothing, because we're in America, baby. So there actually is a game plan here, but they would have to be executing it as flawlessly as the Mamdani campaign has been executing their campaign, which is extremely hard. That is one of the most flawless campaigns I've ever seen in politics ever. So we'll see. But Cuomo lost decisively to the novice state assembly member in the June Democratic Party primary, and a shock to the Democratic establishment. Cuomo is still polling far behind Mamdani in the general election, but some surveys suggest he could defeat Mamdani head-to-head thanks to support from Republican and independent voters. Adams did not directly deny meeting with Trump advisors during his recent jaunt to the state the president now calls his permanent residence. And he notably did not give a definitive no when asked if he plans to drop out of the race for mayor. The mayor said Wednesday morning that he met in Florida with the mayor of Miami. He fucking loves Miami. This guy's always in Miami. Just run for mayor of Miami. I met with some of his team, he told Fox 5 New York. I met with several elected officials, and again, if there's any changes in this race, I will announce that. Adams's Why did this just go to a new? Sorry, it just tried to sell me a wallet out of nowhere. Oh boy. Adams's electability began to take a hit when he faced federal corruption charges. The Trump Department of Justice moved to drop charges, and a federal judge dismissed the case with prejudice in April. The mayor has rejected the accusation that he is beholden to Trump as a result. The blueprint to potentially get Adams and Sliwa out of the race by appointing them to Trump administration posts is heavily complicated by Trump's deep unpopularity in heavily Democratic New York City, where any whiff of his involvement in the mayoral race would create a politically toxic sludge for Cuomo. Whiff? What are we talking about? This has been open. We all know it's not a whiff, it's a stench. We all know Trump is involved. This was literally a surprise to nobody. Day one, Cuomo said, and I've talked about this a million times, I posted it on my Mayoral Instagram, day one after announcement, one of the first public appearances Cuomo did after he announced he was running for mayor, he went from, COVID times when he was like, fuck Donald Trump, I'm gonna do anything, I'll stand up to Donald Trump every day of my life, to like, Donald Trump's not that bad of a guy. We saw this from the very beginning. It's like, is anyone paying attention? Mamdani has been eager to tie his rivals closely to Trump. He doesn't need to be eager to. Zoran doesn't need to do anything to make it appear like Cuomo and Adams are in cahoots with Trump. They just are. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to concoct anything. It's just so. Today's news confirms that Cuomo is Trump's choice for mayor. The White House is considering jobs for Adams and Sliwa to clear the field. The Democratic nominee for mayor posted on X. New Yorkers are sick of corrupt politicians and backroom deals. No matter who's running, we will deliver a better future on November 4th. Mamdani's campaign also called an emergency news conference to address the Times report about Trump and Adams. Cuomo's campaign declined to comment Wednesday. Cuomo has denied speaking directly with the president about the election in New York City, which is hilarious. Privately, though, the former governor has been hopeful for Trump's involvement in the race. No, you don't say. At an August fundraiser in the Hamptons, he told supporters that Trump and fellow GOP leaders would minimize Sliwa's impact by telling Republicans not to waste their vote on him, Politico exclusively reported. A second person familiar with the discussion about Adams' future told Politico on Wednesday that the HUD position was first floated shortly after the mayor's memorable Fox and Friends interview alongside Tom Homan. The Trump border czar had said he'd be up his butt saying, "Where the hell is the agreement we came to?" if Adams didn't help with immigration enforcement. The proposed position was something in HUD, like cities director or director of cities, how to get cities up and running again, said the person granted anonymity to discuss the situation in flux. In the past, Adams has shot down questions about whether he would drop out of the race or serve in the Trump administration, but on Wednesday he struck a different tone. And also, this guy is going to lose the election no matter what. He has no chance in hell. So I feel like this is a way to leave with your head held high. I mean, in some circles, obviously, many of us would not consider leaving to work for the Trump administration, leaving with your head held high. That being said, it makes it look less. I mean, it makes it look less like you're getting fired and more like you're being promoted. And, you know, in this business of politics, it's all about how it looks, eh? To say, would you take a job in the administration or would I take it somewhere else? That's hypothetical, the mayor told reporters. Oh, speaking in riddles again over here. He's like the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. I never know what the fuck this guy is saying. I'm running for office and I'm going to finish doing that. I've got work to do. I've got more ribbons to cut before I finish up this term. Yeah. I love how he even makes jokes about that the work that he's doing is not actually work. Listen to, like, this is an example of someone who's trolling us in real time. And as a comic, I got to respect it a little bit. Let's look at this quote again. The mayor told reporters, "I'm running for office and I'm going to finish doing that. I've got work to do. I've got more ribbons to cut before I finish up this term." He's telling you, I'm doing a bunch of nonsensical appearances and I'm going to continue doing that until my term as mayor is over. Wow.
That's why I don't think he's going to take the job.
Because you don't think he likes doing work?
No, because I don't think he wants to be in D.C.
He wants to be in Miami. He's made that quite clear.
That's what I'm saying. Like but also
this guy wants to be partying at Mango's.
Yeah, but there's also something about, Eric Adams' table on Friday night at Rayo's that he like takes very seriously. You know, like he doesn't want to leave New York for D.C.
But but I mean, like at this point, so little people in New York City like him. Like, where are these tables? Like, are these tables going to go away after somebody else is in charge?
I don't know. I mean, this guy, he got outed from the police force and he got kicked up to being mayor. Like, he just keeps failing upwards in this city. I don't think he has that same kind of traction in D.C.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. That is a good way to describe Mayor Adams, failing upwards. That's smart. In a statement, Adams' campaign spokesperson, Todd Shapiro, denied the mayor has been offered a HUD. I think they just call it HUD, right? A HUD position. Shapiro also said he has not met with Donald Trump and is not leaving the race. Although Mayor Adams has been the most pro-housing mayor in New York City's history, at no time did he ask for, nor was he offered a job at HUD, Shapiro said. Over the last few years, the mayor has shown his ability to block out the noise and stay focused on delivering for New Yorkers. And if the HUD job does open, Andrew Cuomo held that position before and can always continue where he left off. Sliwa said he hasn't talked to the White House and wouldn't want a job anyway. I have not been contacted by the Trump, where's my job? I have not been contacted by the White House and I'm not interested in a job with the White House, he said in a statement. My focus is right here in New York. I'm the only candidate on a major party line who can defeat Mamdani, and I'm committed to carrying this fight through to Election Day. The people of New York City deserve a mayor who truly cares. I mean, I think Mamdani really cares. Republican mega donor and New York political scene staple John Catsimatidis, who is close to both Adams and Trump, told Politico that he did not know about a potential offer to join the Trump administration, but speaks regularly with the president and knows he wants a viable alternative to Mamdani. I have said President Trump loves New York. Castamatidis said, my opinion is he does not want a socialist to be mayor of New York. New York is the capitalist capital of the world and should continue to be that. Oy vey. Okay, well, that's fun. So that's what's going on here in New York. And then also, quick cuties corner, just to continue this ongoing conversation we've had about carriage horses here in New York City. I am most likely going to be attending at like this march on September 13th here in the city for animal welfare, and one of the main issues we're marching for is to end carriage horses. So it's at the Flatiron Building. I think the speakers start at 1 p.m. and the march starts at 2, and then like there's like some DJ dance party at 12 because we gotta fucking be liberal about it. But I won't be at the DJ part, but I want to hear the speakers. So 1 p.m. Saturday, September 13th, it's the Animal Rights March, and it does start at the Flatiron Building. So if you're interested in animal welfare and you live in the tri-state area, that's one of the main things we're going to be marching for. There's also some things having to do with like I think like rodent traps and stuff like that. But this carriage horse, like we're so close, and summer is the time to get movement on this. Although the carriage horses do go into the winter because people like to do it as a Christmas activity in Central Park. But we really see a lot of the worst experiences with the carriage horses happening because of the heat in summer. So I feel like, we've had a couple incidents. There was just another one. This is from friendsofAnimals.org. On Labor Day, a spooked carriage horse named Bambi took off galloping through NYC's Central Park. Her driver was flung across the road and her passengers were forced to jump to safety. Luckily, Bambi and the humans involved were not injured. Fuck them. You shouldn't be riding that anyway. So spread it far and wide to people who are, if you have a friend, family member visiting New York, truly, we're happy to have you. Tourism is a great source of income for the people of New York City. Stop fucking paying to ride these carriage horses. It's animal abuse. We all hate you for doing it. New Yorkers are vehemently against this. There are so much amazing things to do in New York. Also, it's not New Yorkie to ride a horse and carriage. This isn't Amish country. It has nothing to do with New York City. No, if you want to have an authentic New York City experience, just know literally no one does this in New York. There is nothing less. I even know New Yorkers, including myself, who will sometimes like go to the Hard Rock Cafe for a lark. No New Yorker rides in a horse and carriage. You should just put a stamp on your head that says, I'm not from round here, okay? That's how anti-New York you. And we see you. Like, I see tourists. I know you guys are trying to assimilate. I know you. I see your little, sets that you got from Amazon and your brand new Yankee cap that you're wearing. First of all, the dead giveaway that you're not from New York is that everything you're wearing is too clean and too new. That's not New York. We got a little dirt on our stuff. We've been riding the subway. Our shoes have scuffs on them. So just spread the message far and wide. TWU Local 100 shop steward Christina Hansen is blaming the incident on Bambi's lack of training, an unusually loud garbage truck driving too close to the carriage, and even the Central Park Conservancy, which recently said it supports a ban of carriage horses in NYC following the collapse and death of a carriage horse named Lady in August. With the Conservancy saying they don't want us, it has created a hostile and potentially dangerous situation. It was always dangerous because the horses shouldn't be there to begin with, and it's going to continue to be hostile until you shut it the fuck down. Well, Ms. Hansen, truer words have never been spoken. The situation for NYC carriage horses is hostile and dangerous to horses. It has always been and always will be. You can't train a carriage horse not to be a prey animal with a well-developed fight or flight response. Horses evolved from small mammals whose survival depended on their ability to flee from predators like wolves and big cats. Their instinctual response to perceived threats, such as super loud garbage truck or perhaps a double-decker sightseeing bus that gets too close, is to flee because that's their preferred survival mechanism. With its nose-to-tailpipe existence, the carriage horse industry will never recognize who horses are. They will always be a means of entertainment and profit. That's why the only equitable, sensible, and humane solution is to shut down the industry, save the horses, and take them to sanctuaries, and for the city and carriage drivers to come to an agreement about the creation of new jobs. New regulations implemented in the last 7 years: carriages cannot pick up passengers outside of the park, and carriage horses are not allowed to work on particularly hot or humid humid days are making no difference. In addition to their instinct to flee from danger, horses are also robbed of daily turnout, which is necessary for their health and happiness. Various studies link pasture time to stronger bones, better respiratory health, reduced colic risk, and lower stress levels. Turnout gives horses a chance to fill their need for social contact with other horses, such as mutually grooming each other's backs. I mean, this is like 101, just like the same way as like humans need social contact, dogs need social contact. Like this is all the same thing. Cats maybe don't. I don't really know about cats. A fight to end the exploitative carriage horse trade has been playing out in major cities across the country, and I love when we see a pattern being created by other cities. And all too often now, New York is, should be at the forefront of these things, and it's behind. While we wish the phase out would be quicker, we're applauding San Antonio City Council members for approving. And that's crazy because, again, just the same as the voluntary intoxication exclusion, we have Texas now on two big issues being ahead of New York City. Like what is going on in this city? We're applauding San Antonio City Council members for approving a plan to phase out horse-drawn carriages from city streets by 2030. Currently, 5 companies have permits to operate 5 carriages each on downtown streets within 2 miles of City Hall. NYC is guilty of indifference to horse abuse as long as the industry is allowed to be here. Riders Law, which was introduced by Councilmember Bob Holden in 2022, would replace the industry with horseless electric carriages like in Guadalajara, Mexico. Mexico's ahead of us. We're hopeful with a new mayor and some like-minded new council members, NYC carriage horses can get the freedom they deserve. And I do think this is something that Zoran will get going. He has we all fill out surveys about our thoughts of things while we're running. And I know his survey regarding animal rights, because I'm subscribed to all these animal rights newsletters, was quite good. You don't get to see the actual survey, but you can see a lot of answers like yeses and nos and stuff that they said on things. And a lot of times these places will release those. So I know his his animal rights portion of his policy is pretty strong. So I am hoping when he wins, which I think he will, that will really help make this go quicker. And I think this is something where, the internet helped this man get elected. So the internet, if he doesn't immediately do this of his own free will, can put pressure on him to get this done. And I think that he will get it done. But we have to stay on top of him. All right. Patreon, thank you so much. All hail Christopher Fungi. Hello to our dictator. Thank you so much for being here. Great leader. And welcome to our newest capitalist pig, Chad Jones. Thank you so much for supporting this show with your subscription. And welcome to Cutie Ivy Espana. I think you've been in the Patreon before. Thanks for coming back. Some of you left to donate to my mayoral campaign, or obviously sometimes people come in and out based on your financial situation. So thank you so much for coming back. I know I see your name all the time. You're so supportive of a lot of work I do. I really appreciate that. And let's move into, if you want to join Patreon yourself, it's patreon.com/withoutacountry. And you get one additional piece of this show every single week. So you get a whole additional news story. It's usually between 15 and 30 minutes of additional content, depending on what article I choose. And you help support the show so much. You pay for Mike, you pay for our amazing intern Crystal, and you pay for all the subscriptions that we use. And also, thank you so much. There was a wacko who donated some logins to different subscriptions. So anything like that really helps the show, and I really appreciate that so much. All right, here is our main story. There's a lot of things going on right now, but I think this I chose kind of like less political ones this week just for a change of pace as the main stories. So the Tide main stories are the dead body found at Burning Man, and then also we're going to talk about Unknown Number, the Netflix documentary. I'll tell you when we're going into that segment because there will be spoilers, and if you haven't watched it, I don't want to spoil that for you. So, we're going to talk about Burning Man first. So, yeah, I mean, we all know what Burning Man is. It's a festival in the middle of the desert, and people often, people get very into Burning Man. I know mostly what I know about Burning Man from following Moshe Kasher on on Instagram, because he's a comedian who's a big fan of it. But and I know people love it because you kind of like are in the middle of the desert, there's like not a lot of cell phone reception. You're kind of in this own world. You're not using money. You're, trading things. Everyone has to, I believe like the concept, right, is everyone has to bring something to offer or to trade. And it's, kind of this, it's a Zoran, I think, would love it, but you just have no access to anything. And the thing about that is, like, I agree, we all need to unplug. We all need to be less worried about social media and performativeness, and just the amount of fake shit and misinformation we see online anyway should be enough to convince you not to spend so much time on there. But I just like, if you need to get away that badly, if you need to unplug, maybe you don't need to go into the middle of the desert with a bunch of people on drugs. Maybe you could just turn off your phone and have the willpower to not turn it on and then read a book. I don't know. It's just because this is like my exact fear, that I'm in the middle of the desert and there's some kind of a medical emergency. Like year after year, we hear things like, there's like a, fecal matter here, or there's like flooding or stuff like that. That's, to me, par for the course. But the kind of thing I'm worried about is like, yeah, I'm in the middle of a fucking desert and there's, I'm having a medical emergency and no one can get to me because the people who are supposed to be providing the medical care brought like a box of bandages from a Hot Topic or something. Like this is, I don't trust people to have a fast reaction time when we're in the middle of a desert on a music festival, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's my bias. So the body was identified. I believe that happened today. This is from NBC News. Man killed at Burning Man is identified by authorities. The victim was identified as Vadim Kruglov of Russia. Sus. Authorities haven't said how he died. The Pershing County Sheriff's Office on Wednesday identified the man who was killed at Burning Man last week. The victim was identified by fingerprints as 37-year-old Vadim Kruglov of Russia. The Sheriff's Office said he was identified by the Washoe Medical Examiner's Office, and his family has been notified of his death. And also, the fact that he was identified by his fingerprints means that at some point he had to have been fingerprinted before, which most times points to he committed a crime, which is not, I'm not saying he deserves to die or anything, but I'm just like, what's more to the story? Like, who is this guy, right? He's Russian. He's what, like, what's going on here? His body was found after 9 p.m. Saturday, lying on the ground in a pool of blood, the sheriff's office said. A suspect has not been identified, and officials are asking for the public's help finding any person who would commit such a heinous crime against another human being. Officials have said details about the manner of death are being withheld at this time as the investigation is ongoing, which is smart. You never want to release details like that. That's how you can get a confession, and sometimes you can get a false confession from people, which I know is weird, but watch Yogurt Shop Murders if you're interested in, false confessions. When asked for updates on the case Tuesday morning, the sheriff's office said it had none. The festival said it will do everything we can to assist the sheriff's investigation so the perpetrator can be caught and brought to justice, including making a coordinated donation to the Secret Witness Program, which offers rewards for more information that contributes to law enforcement's investigation. At least one other person has died at Burning Man in recent years. Last year, Kendra Frazier, 39, died after emergency services personnel responded to a report of an unresponsive individual. Once on the scene, life-saving measures were immediately attempted but were unsuccessful, the festival said in 2024. The death was one of a few outstanding events at this year's festival, held in the desert of Black Rock City, Nevada. A baby was spontaneously delivered in a recreational vehicle to a woman who did not know she was pregnant, and the infamous orgy tent was claimed by dust storms that overturned the camp. Wow. Sounds like a place I'd definitely like to be. All right. And, previously to today, when the body was identified, the authorities kind of did put out a call to people like, hey, we need help identifying this body, if anyone knows anything, which was just kind of cryptic, No one was here with this guy. I thought that was kind of fucking weird. Or they were. Like the original article from the San Francisco Chronicle said, Burning Man 2025, authorities seek help IDing man found dead in pool of blood. And they just released, like, this man is believed to be a white male adult between the ages of 35 and 40, approximately 6 feet tall and 200 pounds with short brown hair and facial hair. So, like, not a small guy. He urged anyone with information to contact investigators. We are also currently seeking information regarding any suspect identifiers for any person who would commit the crime. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you have information, you can call the Pershing County Sheriff's Office at 775-273-2641 or 775-273-5111, referencing case number 25-318. But I'm sure if you just say dead guy at Burning Man, they'll know what you're talking about. The body was discovered at 9:14 p.m. Saturday near the intersection of a specific area of Black Rock City between 8 and 8:45 o'clock of the festival semicircle and I Street as the man effigy was beginning to burn, the climactic moment of the week-long festival. This feels very like curated murder. Like there's a similar plot line. This is not a huge spoiler, but I'm about to say something about Wednesday. So if you haven't finished all the episodes of Wednesday, maybe skip past this. But there's a similar plot line with like an effigy burning on, for in the latest, installment of Wednesday on Netflix. And then also like Burning Man and the effigy in general is just giving Wicker Man so much, the famous Christopher Lee film, it's just giving Wicker Man. So I don't know if you've never seen Wicker Man. I mean, it was my dad's favorite film, so I know all about Wicker Man. But yeah, I don't know. It's very like horror filmy, very horror filmy. Weird. Okay. Anyway, so we'll stay on top of that. I just feel like that's kind of like, it was like a big weird murder story, and that is like big news, even though we're so numb to death and destruction these days. All right, so now we're gonna move on to discussing. Mike, you're there? Okay, unknown number. So heads up, beep, 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 beep. If you haven't watched Unknown Number on Netflix yet and you plan to, skip past this part because we're going to talk about it openly with spoilers. All right, Mike. So I guess like if you're just listening and you don't know what Unknown Number is, it's a documentary. It's called Unknown Number: The High School Catfish. It's a documentary on Netflix that follows a couple teenagers, one teenager in particular, Lauren Licari, and her then boyfriend Owen, but really Lauren is the one who's getting the brunt of these text messages. They're kind of like this all-American couple in this really small town of Beale City, Michigan. And in 2020, she starts getting these really abusive, crazy text messages from an unknown number, saying that her boyfriend doesn't love her, that he wants someone who will like give her blowjobs. Or give him blowjobs and like fuck him. It's really explicit. And she's like, I think a freshman, she's like 14, 15 at the time. So like not, in high school, but like a pretty young high schooler. It's commenting on her body. It's telling her that she's worthless. It's telling her that her boyfriend hates her. It's telling her that she should kill herself ultimately, because they kind of ramp up really, really crazy. And it goes on and on for like the period of like almost like 2 years it goes on. and it breaks her and her boyfriend Owen up, and it turns all these friends in the small town against each other. It turns parents against each other. It's so fucking crazy. The school officials get involved and they can't solve it. And then finally, this FBI investigator gets involved, and you're thinking, how hard is it to trace where text messages are coming from? Like, we literally have DNA. We can't find and trace where a fucking text message is coming from. I was pulling my hair out the entire time, being like, how hard could this possibly be? I have a fucking ex-boyfriend who I think could do this. Mike, what was your thought while watching the documentaries before we reveal who was sending the text messages?
Listen, I think the principal actually kind of had his head on straight. Like, these parents kept coming in with these unreasonable requests and pointing fingers at these kids, and
it was getting very socially political, which tends to happen in a small town like that, because they're like, no, it was her, oh, they've been bullied. It was so childish.
Yeah, just keep pointing fingers or whatever.
Yeah.
It was I liked the way that the principal kind of held the school together as best as possible. That was probably my favorite character in the doc.
And I think they did some good work. Like they started looking at the security cameras in the school, and they would have Lauren contact them with the exact timestamp of when she received a text message, and then they would look at the security cameras to see what students were on their phones in the hallway at that time. They would call those students in. They would question those students. Like, they did a pretty good job. And you would think that at a certain point, if the police, if you start something just trying to be and it seemed female, which is why I'm saying this. So if you're sending messages just kind of to be a mean girl, you'd have to be pretty mean to not, and pretty I don't know, have experience being a mean girl to not completely crack when, the police start coming and questioning you. Because, there's bullying, and then there's, being comfortable being actually a criminal, when the police get involved. So that's what I was thinking. Within the first 3 minutes of the documentary, and just because I knew that people said that you're not going to believe who was sending the text messages, I knew 100% it was an adult, not a child. Did you know that? Look, I knew immediately it was an adult, not a child.
I knew this story from the headline when it came out.
Oh, so did you already know who was doing it?
Well, I texted you when I was 5 minutes in and said, I feel like I'm coming up on acid right now because, spoiler alert, they get the perpetrator on film in the documentary.
Uh-huh.
And at that point, while I'm watching the person who I know is guilty of all this talking, my palms are sweating.
Oh, because you're seeing her being interviewed as just her role in Lauren Licaria's life, but you already know that you've seen this woman in the news.
Right.
And so you're just watching her live for hours in the documentary.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. So, big spoiler coming here. So again, if you haven't tuned out already, you're going to want to. It turns out the person sending the text messages is Lauren's mom, Kendra Licari. It's her mom. And these text messages are fucking wild. It's first of all, they're very sexual about her ex-boyfriend, or at some parts in it, Owen. So it seems like the person writing is trying to get Owen all to herself, which is very weird. A lot of crazy comments about how Lauren has a flat ass, which is weird because the mom also has a flat ass. The girl has the mom's body, so it's weird to body shame. In one conversation, someone interviewing Kendra Licari says, these are weird things to say to your daughter. Do you feel in some ways you were speaking to yourself? And she's, yes, I feel like I was speaking to myself. I don't know. It wasn't me sending these text messages. I morphed into a different person. And obviously this woman is really mentally ill, because it's weird. It seems, the mom and daughter actually do like each other, but it's almost too much, because it's Munchausen or Munchausen by proxy. Which one is it? I always get those two mixed up. Fabrication of
Munchausen by proxy is you're putting the Munchausen syndrome on someone else.
Right. Okay. But wait, by proxy. Okay. So yeah, she has some kind of like real crazy mental disorder like this. Yeah. There are elements of Munchausen by proxy, harming someone to keep them close. That's what it is. So it's like mental. A lot of times Munchausen by proxy, you're doing something to make someone feel like they are physically sick, but in this, like, it's like mentally. And then there's also elements of things that we've seen in other famous court cases as of late, where it's like, is it a crime to convince someone else to kill themselves? That's something that's been coming up in court a lot.
In the doc, they called it cyber Munchausen syndrome.
Cyber Munchausen, yeah. So interesting. And I think we're going to see a lot more, obviously, like, the ways that people can harm one another change as technology changes. So we're seeing a lot more people being harmed virtually, digitally. We've seen it in sex work with people putting heads onto other naked bodies. We've seen it with the release of revenge porn, things like that. So, people, as technology advances, people will also find a way to use technology to harm other people. That is human nature. And so, yeah, this mom found a way to abuse her daughter via text message. And it was great because she got to abuse her daughter and also love her daughter at the same time. Obviously, like, there was a part of her that found joy because she was kind of the one who would have to be home and console her daughter. And she was like, I'm going to help find who this person doing this to you is. And her daughter confided in her. And, Kendra does end up, she basically, when the cops, one of the investigators finally does some scanning, and he submits reports to a bunch of phone companies, and he's like, you got to send me information on who is sending this from this IP address, and they kind of go through all the numbers of anyone who they think it is, anyone who Lauren knows. And the only number that is a recognizable number is that of Kendra Licari. So the cops show up at Kendra Licari's house. Lauren's actually home at the time, and they like make her stay outside so they can talk to Kendra separately. And they're like, yo, we have some bad news for you. We did a scan of all the numbers that have sent harmful text messages to your daughter over the past couple of years. And the only person in this town whose number is coming up is yours. What do you have to say about that? She like doesn't deny, and then kind of like they basically get her to confess almost immediately. She breaks down. She looks so weak. She has like an additional cell phone. She has like multiple cell phones that she's been using to text her daughter. She has one that she gives up, but then she has like another one hiding in a shed that she doesn't even give up to the cops, even when they show up at her house. That when her husband is notified, he comes home and he's like, yo, you have that shed phone too. Turns out she's also like been lying to her husband about having jobs. She was like fired from her past 2 jobs. So she's been like getting dressed in the morning and going to I don't know where because she's been faking having a job. Her husband is like fucking livid, obviously. She's been tormenting her own daughter and then lying on top of it about having a job. They're in financial despair. They've had to move like 2 houses in the past like year because they keep getting into deeper and deeper debt. And the husband's like unclear of why the debt is happening. He did leave the wife in charge of paying the bills and stuff, and then seemingly didn't really ask any questions. But spoiler alert, she wasn't paying those bills. And also at one point, a lot of they had their possessions in a storage unit, and they didn't pay the bill for the storage unit. And when you don't pay the bill for the storage unit, they end up auctioning off all the stuff in that storage unit to, people who were going to be on a show on TLC. So that happened. The husband's in like tears in the documentary being like, yeah, all my shit that I worked my entire life for was in that fucking storage unit. And that also, now we don't have that anymore. And now I'm getting a divorce. And now I have to, help my daughter be mentally rehabilitated. So the mom does end up going to prison for like, what is it? Like, it's like a year, basically. She ends up going to prison for like a year. And she's...
it was the upper level of the sentence. So I think it was a little longer. I thought it was like 36 months or something.
Oh, it was the upper level of the sentence, but it still wasn't that long. It was like a year and a half. I don't know. Look it up. But yeah, she's out already. And then during that time, she also like was not allowed to like see her daughter, but they were still like emailing back and forth. And the emails that the mom was sending to the daughter were crazy. It was like, "Hello, squishy bushy, I miss you so much. XOXO." And it's interesting because you interview the daughter and like she's not that mad at the mom. I mean, obviously, I think
still her mom. She loves her.
Well, yes, but I think more so she's still under her mom's spell because this is something her mom has been doing to her for a very long time, and so she's so deeply under her spell that no matter if the cops tell her or if other people say that your mom sucks, if this person has been doing a good enough job of their mind control, it's going to take more than that to get out from under their spell, I think. Like, I wonder if her watching this documentary will have any effect on her, actually. But yeah, so that is that. There's still seemingly like
19 months in prison.
19 months. Okay, so like, okay. Yeah. And it's like a little over a year and a half. Yeah. And it's just so interesting because it's still like unclear what the motive was. Like, I think the mom just seems like kind of mentally ill or like a lot mentally ill. And then what bothered me was later on. So for the whole documentary, Owen's mom is like, no, like it's definitely not Kendra until they like 100% know it's Kendra. It was even brought up to her earlier in the investigation that like, are you sure? Like, could it be Kendra? Because, the police always go in the inner circle first, kind of like the same way with domestic, like a murder of a husband or wife, you always go check the husband or the wife. The same thing with like child abuse. You kind of like always check the parents first, or like with young person abuse. You check the parents, you check the boyfriend, you check the girlfriend, maybe teachers, And so Owen's mom is like, no, it's definitely not Kendra. Kendra's like helping me with this investigation, that we've taken into our own hands. And then when she finds out it is Kendra, what bothered me is that her tune about Kendra completely changed. Like, and obviously, like, I don't mind that she hates Kendra because now she knows the fact about her, but she started spewing all this information about Kendra's behavior towards Owen that she never previously stated. She's like, oh, yeah. She's like, oh, it almost seems like Kendra has a crush on Owen. She's like always around, always like asking him if she can help him with things. Like it almost feels borderline sexual. Well, okay, Owen's mom, if there's this other adult woman who you're now saying has been acting almost sexual towards your son for a long time now, why are you just now saying something about it? Like, what? That was the weirdest part of the doc. Besides the fact that it was fucking Lauren's mom, that to me was the weirdest part of the documentary. Like, you're basically admitting that your son's ex-girlfriend's mom seemed to have a sexual or romantic crush on your teenage son, and this is the first time you're bringing it up? What? That's weird. That's weird. And it's still unclear like what the mom's motive was. Like, was the mom trying to break up her teenage daughter and the boyfriend because she wanted to try and get with the teenage boyfriend? Was she jealous of her daughter because her daughter was living a life that she wasn't able to live? Like, she was married. Like, I don't exactly know what was going on, but it is fucking wild. And I just hope that Lauren's okay and she's able to heal her relationship. Of course, Owen kept making about him and how he could never like get new girlfriends now, but really the there's multiple victims here, but by far the one who's getting the shittiest end of the stick is Lauren. So thoughts and prayers, Lauren. But yeah, did you have any other comments on that, the documentary, Mike?
No, I mean, I don't know. It felt like the documentary people took it a little easy on the mom.
Yeah, it did. It did. It did feel like they had like a lot of empathy. I think oftentimes, when the perpetrator is female, that does happen a little bit more often. Like we're in a just a climate where we're more empathetic to women, especially if we think it's mental health related. And there, but the thing was, I think also there was a little bit of Kendra is so good at manipulating that I think she also made the documentary filmmakers feel for her. Like I think they were under her spell a little bit too. That was that was kind of what I gathered from it.
It got a little corny to me as the documentary went on. Like when they check back in with the mom, she would seem like almost checked out of the interview and like looking at her phone, almost like putting herself in that mindset of like, I wasn't even talking to people around me. Like I was just so focused on texting evil things to my daughter.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, because you do hear a little bit of the person, Sky Borgman. So it's Sky Borgman. Yeah, is a woman. Okay, because I'm like, you hear a woman asking questions, and I just assumed that was the director, and it is. It's directed by Sky Borgman, who is a woman who looks to be, I don't know, in her 50s, maybe? I'm not sure.
I think the reveal was, the reveal was a little tacky. You know what I mean?
I thought it was interesting.
Like it was an interesting filmmaking choice, but it's also a thing where it's like, I don't know, man. I don't want this woman on screen being made to be likable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, don't you think that was commentary on like how unlikely of a suspect she was because she was kind of this meek seeming, like really skinny, like kind of dorky, goofy lady. Like she has like big teeth. She kind of like has like bad posture. Like it just doesn't seem like she would be someone, able to be so cruel. And I think, part of the work, to me, part of what the documentary filmmakers were doing or filmmaker was doing is maybe saying like, oh, it can be the person you least expect. I don't know. I thought it was like two level, like, oh, let's trick the viewer so that the viewer understands more why no one knew it was this woman for so long. I think that was like a filmmaking choice. I didn't think it was tacky. I thought it was interesting. I thought I was like playing with mind control and manipulation a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the like my initial understanding when I started to watch it was like, oh, they must have started to interview the mom when this was ongoing. And then we'll get the reveal in real time. And then to find out that it's like, oh no, she sat down for this after the fact and was like acting for. I had to watch some mom act for half a documentary. Like that's lame.
Yeah, that part was weird. There's been a lot of like acty documentaries I've been seeing lately. Like they're not even new. There's this one called Ren Fair that I just watched, and there is a lot of like dramatic acting for a documentary. It's really good though if you care about Renaissance festivals. It's like all like the underbelly of the Renaissance Fair. It's specifically the Texas Renaissance Fair, which is not one I've been to, but very interesting. All right, so yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting if you're interested in like mind games, manipulation, Munchausen by proxy, that kind of thing. Do not recommend watching it if you have a bad relationship with your mother, because it's probably I don't know. If it depends. So if you're someone who seeing other people getting treated badly by their mom heals you in a way, watch it. If it's gonna flare up your mommy issues, I do not recommend you watching that. All right. Excuse me. Now on to Girl. So real quick, the internet, we covered the Taylor Lorenz dark money to Democratic influencer story last week. That went pretty viral. That was originally in Wired. People, Mike and I were kind of quietly tracking and going back and forth. We're tracking a lot of the people that were mentioned in the article, including like Eliza Orlins and Helicity Merman, which is the American Doll account that I really love. That one, I really love both those accounts. So it's kind of ruined both those accounts for me. But of course they denied it. And then there were some other people saying like, get that bag. Like everyone else gets bag. Why can't Democrats get bag? Well, it's like no one should be getting bag from dark money, I guess is the point here. And then there was a lot of conversation about people just kind of saying with no sources that Taylor Lorenz's article had been debunked. But like, it had not been debunked. If it had been debunked, Wired would have retracted the article, and Wired has not retracted the article. So like people kept saying on X and stuff, oh, this has been debunked. Like, what are you talking about? No, it hasn't. Amanda Seales also did an Instagram. I know she did like a larger long form podcast or whatever about it. I'm not subscribed to that, so I wasn't able to see that. But she did put out a short Instagram video about it if you're interested, and she definitely thought it was problematic. Again, not that what some Amanda Seales says is law, but I do. She's one of the people whose opinion I respect, and I will be very sad if I found out that Amanda Seales is taking dark money. So I hope she's not. But yeah. Just to go over the expose, as we talked about last week, in the article, Taylor Lorenz revealed that the Chorus Creator Incubator Program, which is funded by 1630 Fund, which is the liberal dark money nonprofit, and dark money means you don't know the source of the money, you don't know the donors, was secretly paying over 90 left-leaning influencers up to $8,000 per month to circulate pro-democratic messaging online. The contracts required participants not to disclose their involvement or funders. They also mandated Chorus approval for any use of funds in political content and gave control over political engagements and events. Chorus framed the program as infrastructure to boost progressive voices at scale. And this was a program that was launched this past spring. And there were ethical concerns because experts flagged transparency issues, potential FEC disclosure avoidance, and then, of course, the good old gatekeeping of creator access to political spaces. There was people who responded. I'm not like so familiar with some of these people who have responded, but you might know Brian Tyler Cohen, David Packman. These are people who responded by attacking Taylor Lorenz. And Taylor Lorenz, she likes to write articles like this. She doesn't mind getting attacked. Like, she'll go on, her Instagram and be like, oh, why is everyone attacking me? She loves it. She loves this kind of attention. This is just who she is. This is the kind of reporting she does. And that's her choice. But obviously, she's going to get pushback. You're not going to fucking write an article like this and not get pushback. And it's wild that she went on her Instagram acting like she wasn't going to get pushback. Of course you are. But to me, when you get pushback like that, that to me means you're poking the right spots on the bear, then people started accusing Taylor Lorenz of all kinds of stuff, and they were saying that she accepted dark money. And she's like, no, I didn't. And she also, I saw people accusing her of getting fired for different ethical issues from her previous journalism jobs. So I looked into that a little bit. And this just goes to show you can't just first of all, if something comes up on Reddit, definitely you have to 100% fact check that. But people were saying it in tweets and stuff and just saying it as if it was fact or as if they read it somewhere. But to me, anytime someone tells me something and I've never heard it, I don't say this in a combative way. I just say, oh, that's really interesting. Can you cite your source? That's what I always say. This is a really great way to respond to things. If you say something and someone says, no, this is not true, if someone says Taylor Lorenz's article has been debunked, you go, oh, that's really interesting. I didn't hear that. Can you show me the source where it shows that this has been debunked? That's all you need to say. It doesn't need to be a big fight. Cite your source is very powerful. I say it to people all the time. And if I say it to you in a DM, again, I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just saying I am not going to just believe something that someone tells me. Please cite your source. Tell me where you got this information from, because I would like to look into it further. Cite your source. It's something we've been asked to do since we were little fucking kids, handing in book reports. Cite your source. That's it. That's all. There's nothing combative about it at all. And if someone gets angry when you ask them to cite their source, they're hiding something, or they didn't look, they got information from someone else and they didn't ask that person cite your source, and now they feel stupid because they might just have got caught spreading misinformation. But it's extremely important. And yeah, I looked into, any of the places that Taylor Lorenz has previously worked. She worked as a tech reporter for the New York Times from 2019 to 2022. That was just her tenure there. There was no evidence that she was fired. She just left, which is super normal. she worked at the Washington Post after that. And it says in August 2024, Taylor Lorenz shared an Instagram story that was on her close friends only, which means that she needs to filter out that close friends because one of her close friends is not a close friend and told the internet about it. But she shared an Instagram story to her close friends that portrayed President Biden with the caption "war criminal." And because of that, close friends Instagram story, the Washington Post did launch an internal review of her. And then a couple months later in October 2024, Taylor Lorenz left the Washington Post and began writing her independent Substack newsletter, User Mag, which she still has. Official statement.
I like her more.
Official statements framed this as her resignation to pursue independent journalism, but some outlets like the New York Post are claiming that the editors at the Washington Post maybe lost faith in her because of that Instagram post, and that maybe her departure was more forced than it seemed. Yeah, and there was also the New Yorker refers to an internal report from Puck alleging the Post determined Lorenz violated the paper's standards and had no desire to continue employing her. I don't know. That's the only one that seems like there could have been a little validity to that she actually did something wrong. And then there was a Vox Media partnership that Lorenz had a distribution deal for her podcast with Vox Media. In December 2024, reports surfaced that Vox was not renewing the deal, often characterized as a split after her online comments, though Lorenz has insisted she retains full ownership and control over the show. So there's no real credible source about that. So again, people are just kind of saying slanderous things about Taylor Lorenz. I didn't find anything except for possibly the Washington Post departure could have had something in it. Maybe it wasn't as voluntary as she made it appear publicly. Besides that, I seen no fucking issue. And again, the biggest proof that nothing in the article was debunked is that Wired left it up. If there was real receipts to debunk what Taylor Lorenz was saying, Wired would have had to retract that article, and they have not. So TBD. But, Mike and I also saw Eliza Orlins and stuff saying weird shit about it that just seemed very vague, and I don't know. We didn't love it. We did not love it. And I thought it was funny because one of the videos that Eliza just posted, and again, I'm not trying to attack any individual here. I'm just using Eliza as an example because she's someone who I followed very closely, loved the information she shared, and talked about her a lot on this show. So that's kind of why I'm honing in on her. Helicity Merriman is different because there is a real person behind that account. What the hell is her name? Adette or something. She has a strange name. But it's more like memes and it's a little bit more whimsical. Whereas Eliza Orlins is lawyer shit. So it's a little bit more serious. Helicity, I could almost see taking the money a little bit more because she's more of an influencer. Where Eliza, especially as someone, who should be, held to lawyer standards, to me, should not have accepted this money. And Eliza actually just did a video about how she needs the Epstein list released because if someone she admires is on the Epstein list, her admiration for them is over, full stop. And I thought that was so interesting seeing that video today while I was preparing this segment because I was like, well, babe, that's how I feel about you. I need to see this full influencers list because if someone is on this dark money list, I ain't listening to what they're saying so much anymore. So I just thought that was very funny that she said that specific sentence today. And then, going right into the Epstein list, still ongoing, the survivors had a press conference today in which they said, yo, if the government doesn't release this list, we're going to release the list. We're we know who is there. We're just going to all sit together in a room and compile a list of names and release them to you, which is kind of I've been thinking about this for a while. I was kind of yeah, don't other people know this? There has to be other people who can just leak some of these names. And so I'm glad that the survivors finally came to their senses. Good for fucking them. I guess, they're hesitant because it could, I mean, it really puts a target on their back. Like, I would be actually truly worried for my physical safety, because if the survivors release that list, some of them ain't going to be survivors anymore. They're going to be 6 feet under. I truly believe that. So I think there is a danger in that. And I think that there is also a danger, like legally, I guess because I think people will start trying to sue them for slander and defamation, saying, I wasn't on that list. The real list wasn't even, released. How could we possibly know that list is sealed? So just this is from BBC today. Some of Jeffrey Epstein's victims spoke about the years of abuse they've suffered and what they hope happens next at an emotional 2-hour news conference in Washington, D.C. Some described a disturbing world in which they were duped into jobs as teenage messieurs and then abused. Another, Haley Robson, said she was forced to recruit more teenage girls from school and was paid for everyone she found. Epstein had a framed photo of himself and Donald Trump on his desk, and he bragged about the two men's friendship. It was revealed. But speaking at the same time in the White House, Trump characterized the push to release more information about the Epstein case as a Democrat hoax. Survivors said Epstein was protected, but now they are creating their own list of his associates. And Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene said she would read it in Congress if asked. And you know what, Marjorie? I know you would. We'll be closing our coverage soon. Thank you for reading. Okay, I don't know that even. We'll be closing our coverage. I guess was this audio that was transcribed? Okay. And then also on the subject of the Epstein list, NBC News reported that Epstein accusers put pressure on Congress to release the files. Apparently, there are only 2 Republicans short of a vote. Representatives Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna say they need just
the only good ones.
Say they need just 2 more Republicans to force a vote, but the White House and GOP leaders are frantically working to quash the rebellion. So let's see. Yes, so it talks about the press conference a little bit more. They go through that if you want to know the particulars of the press conference. It's just a lot of the survivors speaking. But let's see where. So as of Wednesday, morning, 134 lawmakers had signed onto the Massie Khanna discharge petition. 130 Democrats and 4 Republicans. Massie and Reps Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, Lauren Boebert of Colorado, and Nancy Mace, who, there was a lot of reports that she had a meeting with the survivors. I guess it was today, or if not today, like this week, and she left crying. She said when she heard their story, she almost had a near panic attack. Both authors of the measure have expressed confidence they can reach their goal of 218. They will need just 2 more Republicans to sign the petition to force a vote if all Democrats join the effort, which they are expected to do. But the Trump White House and Republican congressional leaders are opposed to the release of all the files, saying that doing so could inadvertently expose the identities of victims who don't want to go public. Excuses. Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, has blasted the discharge push as misguided because the House Oversight Committee is already investigating the Epstein matter. On Tuesday night, the GOP-led panel released what it described as the first batch of documents from the Justice Department. More than 33,000 pages of records, but many files had already been made public through court filings and other releases. And on Wednesday afternoon, the House passed a measure from leadership that directs the Oversight Committee to continue its Epstein investigation, offering an alternative to the discharge position for Republicans wanting to get themselves on the record on the issue. Meanwhile, the White House framed voting for the discharge petition as a hostile act toward the Trump administration. Well, someone needs to be hostile towards you. Helping Thomas Massie and liberal Democrats with their attention-seeking, while the DOJ is fully supporting a more comprehensive file release effort from the Oversight Committee, would be viewed as a very hostile act to the administration, a White House official said.
Bruh.
Yes.
What an insane statement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like we're in a dictatorship, right? Both White House officials and GOP leaders are working behind the scenes to try to stave off an internal revolt from rank-and-file Republicans on the Epstein matter. One far-right rabble-rouser, Representative Ralph Norman, Republican from South Carolina, said a White House official called him to see how he would vote on the Epstein resolution. He replied that he wouldn't sign the petition, but would support it if Massey and Khanna collect 218 signatures and bring it to the floor. When they get 218, I'll vote for it, Norman told NBC News, but he added he wouldn't be a part of the discharge effort. What I don't like about it is it's just a hate Trump bill. Good. The discharge petition is nothing more than a hate Trump bill. And I also don't think it is. It's like they recognize that the people want to fucking see this. Earlier Wednesday, women accusing Epstein and Maxwell of sex trafficking rallied on Capitol Hill, calling for the government to release all the files. And then it gets more into the talk about the survivors, which not that that's not important, but this we've talked about that a lot before. All right, so that's there. That's one distraction, and then I also just wanted to quickly, because we haven't talked about that on this on the show before. I just also wanted to point out another distraction from the Epstein files and a distraction in general, and also following Trump's playbook of coming for his enemies is everything that's going on with John Bolton. This is, another enemy that Trump is going after. He was formerly Trump's national security advisor for a little over a year. And then in 2020, he released the memoir, The Room Where It Happened, where he accused Donald Trump of not knowing jack shit about foreign policy or global leadership. That the Trump DOJ tried to block over national security concerns, but then the judge allowed it to come out. And then the government had a subsequent criminal investigation into the book that was dropped in June of 2021. And so, that's why they're, raiding his house. And it seems like, they've been raiding and looking into John Bolton because of this accusation of mishandling of classified documents, which I do want to say for the record, this investigation was started under the Biden administration, but it's really been heating up and gotten much more serious under the Trump administration. And of course, it makes perfect sense. This is someone who used to be on Team Trump, now isn't on Team Trump. Trump's going after him with all his fucking might. Trump's not dead. Also, that was another rumor floating around this week. He's alive. He's not dead. Al Jazeera did this whole article on how the rumor of Trump's death spread on social media. If you're interested, we don't need to go through it. It's not uncommon for a celebrity's death to be falsely, or the rumor to be falsely started on social media, and that's what happened. He's had the bruising on his hands. He's an older man. I don't think just because you're older and you're exhibiting, old person stuff, that means that you're dying. I mean, Joe Biden's still alive. Doesn't mean that you're getting less and less competent by the day. Possibly, but I guess we'll see. Then under free speech, we have, let's see. All right, so wrapping up here. But under free speech, really interesting thing out of UK. There's this Irish comedian, Graham Linehan, I think that's how you say it, who was actually arrested for a series of 3 tweets this week. And he wrote an article for the Free Press. He said, I posted on X, the British police arrested me. And sorry, I put the wrong link in here. This is the article that I want to put just so the show notes are right. And so he wrote a little piece about it for the Free Press. And this is his take. Sorry, just updating that. Okay. I was arrested at Heathrow, thrown in a cell, rushed to the hospital as my blood pressure spiked, and then silenced online, all for posting on social media. We're going to read this. But I will say they put the 3 tweets that he got arrested for, and it's, to me, without reading the article, I just read the tweets first because I wanted to see if I could decipher why he got thrown in jail for these tweets, and if it made sense to me. And to me, it took me 3 seconds to figure out why he got thrown in jail. And I want you guys to see if you can use your critical thinking to figure out, without me telling you, why. So these are the 3 tweets. So one of the tweets says, if a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. That's tweet 1. Tweet 2 is a photo you can smell, and it's like some kind of an LGBT trans gathering or protest or something. I have to read more into it, but again, I'm just giving you the information because I just looked at the tweets by themselves, no context. And then number 3, I hate them, misogynists and homophobes, fuck them. Michael, without reading the article, did you read the article yet? Or do you know anything about this?
No.
Okay, so just with the information you have, can you tell me why you think this guy might have been thrown in jail?
I mean, he's inciting violence.
Exactly. Right? I'm not saying that's okay or I agree with it, but I'm like, this is the problem. Free speech, and obviously this is not, abiding by the laws of the Constitution because this is not America. But to me, it was very clear. It's like, babe, you're getting thrown in jail because you're inciting violence, which is illegal most places. And so you've left the boundaries of free speech. Great. Amazing. All right. So this is the article. You may not know Graham Linehan's name, but you should. The Irish comedian and co-creator of the popular sitcoms Father Ted and The It Crowd, was long considered one of the most successful comedy writers in the United Kingdom. Then he became one of Britain's most outspoken critics of trans ideology. First, Linehan was criticized for a 2008 episode of The It Crowd, which activists called transphobic when it re-aired years later. Then in 2018, Linehan praised as heroes protesters at London's Pride Parade who had carried banners that read "Trans activism erases lesbians." Ever since, Linehan has been the target of a relentless campaign by trans activists. He has been sued repeatedly, banned from X, and ostracized from the showbiz community. Linehan had said that the accusations of transphobia have made it impossible for him to find work in Britain. Last year, he moved to the United States, which is hilarious. I've been a big transphobe in Britain, and I couldn't get any work here, so I just moved to the good old US of A. I'm glad that's what we're known for now. Really proud of us. On Monday, Linehan was arrested by British police at Heathrow Airport, thrown in a cell, then rushed to the hospital for dangerously high blood pressure. All of this for the crime of 3 posts on X in April. Today, we bring you Graham Linehan's story told from his hospital bed. And of course, this is from the Free Press, so we know which side they're on. Something odd happened before I even boarded my flight from Arizona to London. When I handed over my passport at the gate, the official told me I didn't have a seat and had to be reticketed. At the time, I thought it was just a sort of innocent snafu that makes air travel such a joy, but in hindsight, it was clear I'd been flagged. Someone somewhere had made a phone call. The moment I stepped on the plane at Heathrow, 5 armed police officers were waiting. They escorted me to a private area and told me I was under arrest for 3 posts on X. In a country where pedophiles escape prison, this is like a parody of a Free Press article already. It's a guy who is very angry that he got held accountable for inciting violence against trans people. And then he's like, but what about the pedophiles? You couldn't write this stuff. I mean, Free Press is really, there's some topics they really love. And I really like the kind of they do interesting journalism, but they are obsessed with certain topics. In a country where pedophiles escape prison, where knife crime is out of control, the state had mobilized 5 armed officers to arrest the comedy writer for these 3 posts. And no, I promise you, I am not making this up. And I actually do agree with him, right? It's okay, yes, you were inciting violence, but out of all the things that are happening, do we really need to send 5 armed officers to arrest you? That being said, public figures are treated differently, just the same way as because I'm in the public eye, I got more support for my stalking case. You're also going to get, if you do something bad, more attention also goes on you. And I've had both sides of it. I've had extra help for being in the public eye, and I've had extra scrutiny for being in the public eye. So really, it actually does make sense if we're talking about, the Libra scales that I love. And it's great when you're getting that extra help for being in the public eye, and it sucks when you're getting that extra scrutiny for being in the public eye. When I first saw the cops, I actually laughed. I couldn't help myself. "Don't tell me you've been sent by trans activists," I said. The officers didn't react. This was the theme throughout most of the day. Among the rank and file of the police, there was a sort of polite bafflement. They were entirely professional and even kind, but most had absolutely no idea what any of this was about. Once the officers began reading me my rights and I realized what was happening, the red mist descended. The officers saw how upset I was and treated me gently after that. They even arranged for a van to meet me on the tarmac so I didn't have to be perp walked through the airport like a terrorist. Small mercies. Which is so funny. It's like, okay, so you're already getting special treatment. At Heathrow Police Station, my belt bag and devices were confiscated. If I'm getting arrested, I want all the cameras on me. Please know that. Then I was shown into a small green tiled, because it's like, okay, well, you're getting arrested for something that you really believed in. So this should be no problem here. Then I was shown into a small green tiled cell with a bunk and a silver toilet in the corner. Later, during my interview with an officer, the tone shifted. He asked about each of the posts in turn, with the sort of earnest intensity usually reserved for discussing something serious like, oh, I don't know, crime. The thing is, babe, inciting violence is a crime. And additionally, like, this is the same turn that we're seeing. This is not good news. Like, this is the same turn we're seeing everywhere. Again, this reminds me a lot of Jenna Friedman, who we just recently had on Guys We Fucked, being questioned about what kind of comedy she does and if she critiques the government in her stand-up set at customs, entering the U.S. as a U.S. citizen. Crazy bananas behavior. I explained that the post about punching a trans-identified man in a female-only space was a serious point made with a joke. Okay, going back to my conversation of are jokes just jokes last week. Men who enter women's spaces are abusers, and they need to be challenged every time. The officer mentioned the term trans people. I asked him what he meant by the phrase. People who feel their gender is different than what was assigned at birth, he said. Assigned at birth, I responded. Our sex isn't assigned. He called it semantics. I told him he was using activist language. Eventually, a nurse came to check on me and found my blood pressure was over 200 mmHg, stroke territory. So I was escorted to the emergency room where I wrote this piece after spending about 8 hours under observation. The doctors suggested the high blood pressure was stress-related, combined with long-haul travel and lack of movement. I feel a contributing factor might have been that I've now spent 8 years being targeted by trans activists working in tandem with police in a dedicated, persistent harassment campaign, all because I refuse to believe that men can become women. And yeah, fighting for what you believe in is hard. And whether or not, whether or not you believe with what this guy is saying, I don't think anything he's saying is he's acting like he's like, oh my God, I'm so moral and all the things I'm saying are so smart, whatever about that. But yeah, it's really stressful standing up for what you believe in. How are you just finding this out? I was offered bail on one condition. I am not to go on X. That's it. No threats, no speeches about the seriousness of my crimes, just a legal gag order designed to shut me up while I'm in the UK, and a demand I face another police interview in October. The fact that the individual officers were civil doesn't alter the fundamental reality of what happened. I was arrested at an airport like a terrorist, locked in a cell like a criminal, taken to the hospital because the stress nearly killed me. This is so victim-y. And banned from my heart. I looked up this guy. He's really overweight, right? And banned from speaking online, all because I made jokes on X. The UK has become a country that is hostile to freedom of speech, hostile to women, and far too accommodating to the demands of violent, entitled, abusive men who have turned the police into their personal goon squad. Which is so funny because it's okay, so your reaction to violence is more violence, and you're also a man. So what is even going on here? I don't know. I just don't think that this guy really thinks he's being really virtuous. And I don't really know what the story about how him getting called out on inciting violence and like his blood pressure skyrocketing. We're supposed to like feel bad for this guy. Like, you seem like a weak bitch. Maybe you shouldn't be on X. Seemingly you can't handle it, brah. Like, I do, like, even if I don't agree with what people are saying, I do commend anyone who, you know, stands up for what they believe in. And so I don't maybe agree with what he's saying, but I think it's cool when people, like, even if the view is like weird or fucked up, like I'm like, oh, I think it's like cool when people really stand by what they believe in, right? I've always thought that. So it's like, immediately this guy is like, I'm so stressed out from like talking about what I believe in. Well then, babe, you weren't built for this. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, I'm saying babe a lot. I've been watching too many Abby Chatfield videos. She's always saying babe. It's very funny to me. But yeah, I don't know. And then CNN's, has a response to this. A comedy writer's arrest supercharges a transatlantic debate about free speech in Britain. Armed police officers.
Transatlantic.
Yeah, I'm sure they did it on purpose. Armed police officers are a rare sight in Britain, but the Irish comedian Graham Linehan was met by 5 of them when he landed at London's.
Subtle shot. Armed police are a rare sight in England.
Yeah, well, that's not a shot. It's just true. It's just very un-American. When he landed at London's Heathrow Airport from Arizona on Monday before being arrested, searched, and questioned. The reason 3 posts he wrote on X in April, Linehan claimed on his Substack. So they go through the tweets. Without naming Linehan, the co-creator of the sitcom Father Ted, who was a gender-critical activist, London's Metropolitan Police confirmed it had arrested a man in his 50s on suspicion of inciting violence. Linehan denied that his posts were a call to violence against trans women and has been released on bail. They're directly a call to violence. You said punch them in the balls. Like, what are we talking about? You said if a trans woman is in your space, punch them in the balls. You said that. That is exactly what you like. I don't understand what you're inciting violence. Like, I don't know what to tell you. For Nigel Farage, the populist leader of the hard right Reform UK party, Linehan's arrest was rather timely. He had been invited to give evidence before the U.S. House of Representatives Judiciary Committee in Washington on Wednesday for a hearing on European threats to free speech. Farage, who said he arrived from the land of Magna Carta, now had what he felt was a smoking gun, more proof that the UK is sliding into what he called a really awful authoritarian situation. At what point did we become North Korea? Farage has asked U.S. lawmakers, which is so funny because I would really like to send these people to North Korea and then say if they're still asking if we're North Korea. Well, I think the Irish comedy writer found out 2 days ago at Heathrow Airport. Well, the insurgent Farage needs little excuse to chip away at the flailing Labour government of Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Linehan's arrest is the latest in a series of incidents that have fueled a furious debate about Britain's laws on free speech, one that has put it in the crosshairs of the Trump administration. Speaking at the Munich Secretary Conference in February, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance rattled off multiple cases in Britain that he said proves free speech was in retreat there. Last month, the U.S. State Department, and this has been happening for a long time, too. We've been following it on this show for quite some time. But again, I think this is someone, for me, how I see this is Graham has been annoying fucking the British government for a long-ass time. And he's been annoying them and annoying them and annoying them. So they've been reading his stuff very closely, just waiting until he gave them what they needed to arrest him under UK law. And by inciting violence, he handed that to him. So he should have been more fucking careful. And then he could have gone on spewing whatever speech he wanted to spew, including hate speech, because hate speech, I'm going by American Constitution here, but like hate speech is not a separate form of speech. Inciting violence is a no. Hate speech is not separate. So you can say he could tweet all day, I fucking hate trans people, and yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. And if he was arrested for that, then we would have a conversation, because God knows people are on Twitter all day saying I fucking hate Jews. So that's allowed. Last month, the U.S. State Department published a report claiming that human rights in Britain have worsened over the past year, citing serious restrictions on free speech. Although Britain has no codified constitution and hence no equivalent of the First Amendment to enshrine freedom of speech, the country has had free speech for a very, very long time, as Starmer has stressed during his meeting with the U.S. president. But its laws around free speech comprise a cluster of acts, some decades old, which critics say are struggling to keep pace with digital technology. In a high-profile case last year, Lucy Connolly, a mother and former nanny, was sentenced to 31 months in prison for a post she sent on X while Britain was convulsed by anti-immigration riots. The riots were sparked by the murder of 3 schoolgirls by Axel Rudakubana, the British son of Rwandan migrants. Misinformation about the identity of the attacker prompted mass demonstrations outside the hotels Britain uses to house asylum seekers, some of which turned violent. Mass deportations now set fire to all the fucking hotels full of the bastards for all I care, Connolly wrote in June 2024. If that makes me racist, so be it. Connolly was convicted under the Public Order Act of 1986, which criminalizes distributing, threatening, and abusive material intending to stir up racial hatred. She was released last month after serving 40% of her prison term. While many on the British right decry that citizens can be imprisoned for social media posts, lawyers have stressed that such speech would have been illegal before the advent of social media. Whether shouted from Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park or written on X, inciting violence can be criminal in the United Kingdom. It is possible to cross the line into criminality by words alone, Max Hill, formerly Director of Public Prosecutions for England and Wales, told the BBC on Wednesday. Tweeting that you should set fire to all the hotels containing migrants is crossing that line very clearly. Again, clear as day to me. Although Connolly pleaded guilty to the charge against her, she has since claimed she was a political prisoner, becoming a cause célèbre for the online right. Farage said he hoped to bring her with him to Congress on Wednesday. Sadly, the restrictions that have been put on her banned her from making the trip, which is a very, very great shame, he said. Although much of the fury has been fanned by the right, Starmer's government has also come under fire from the left, with pro-Palestinian activists also claiming their speech is being unfairly policed. After activists with the Palestine Action Group broke into Britain's largest airbase in June and damaged 2 military aircraft, the British government designated the group a terrorist organization. Under the Terrorism Act 2000, terrorism includes action involving serious damage to property in support of a political objective. Because supporting terror organizations is also prescribed, protesters aligned with Palestine Action have since been targeted. Police arrested 466 people in a single day during a protest in London in August. The spectacle troubled some of Britain's most prominent legal authorities. Jonathan Sumpton, a former Supreme Court justice, wrote in the British newspaper The Independent that merely indicating your support for a terrorist organization without doing anything to assist or further its acts should not be a criminal offense and is consistent with basic free rights to free speech. After Linehan's arrest, the head of the Metropolitan Police called on the government to change or clarify the laws his officers must enforce. Mark Rowley said the decision to arrest Linehan was made within existing legislation, which dictates that a threat to punch someone from a protected group could be an offense. But he said his officers had been put in an impossible position with Britain's laws drawing them into toxic culture wars debates. He urged the government to limit the resources we dedicate to tackling online statements to those cases creating real threats in the real world. Asked by Parliament about the arrest, Starmer said the police must focus on the most serious issues. While British institutions creak under the pressure of changing technology, Farage said it offered a warning to the U.S. I've only come today to be a klaxon to say, don't allow piece by piece this to happen here in America, he told Congress. Well, we're kind of actually on almost like the flip side, where we're letting really anything go and giving them Netflix specials. And klaxon, I had to look it up. It's an electric horn or a similar loud warning device. U.S. Representative Jamie Raskin, the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, countered that the UK Prime Minister has not shut down the right-wing news broadcaster GB News, where Farage has hosted his own show, which is critical of the British government. He also said the leader of a reform council barred a local newspaper and website from interacting with the authority. To the people of the UK who think this free speech imposter and Trump sycophant will protect freedom in your country, come over to America and see what Trump and MAGA are doing to destroy our freedom, Raskin said. Arr. You might think twice before you let Farage make Britain great again. And again, it's just like, yeah, we see the same kind of prototypes of people in all these different countries, which is always my rebuttal when people say, America's getting so bad, I got to move somewhere else. Okay, well, this shit is happening other places too. So please, again, like, let's all fix our own communities where we live, because that's where we're going to have the most power. So basically, we get just a little bit of an overview of the CDC. Just all eyes on the CDC. We've seen in the past week 3 CDC leaders walk out over new RFK Jr. policies, and there's been a lot of conversation about how they feel that, RFK Jr. and Maha and MAGA are kind of weaponizing health against the American people. So just keep all eyes on that. And then there was also Susan Menarez, who was just confirmed as the CDC's director in July. She's already been fired by the White House, who is saying that RFK Jr. is weaponizing public health. So that's what's going on. Yet another agency that is falling apart. So we have FEMA falling apart. We have the CDC falling apart. We have the FAA falling apart. Although if you've been following, if you saw the last season of The Rehearsal, the work that Nathan Fielder did on the last season of The Rehearsal, I think is actually done more for the FAA than that Donald Trump has done, certainly more positive. And then kind of going off this CDC information, it was just reported today in the New York Times that Florida is moving to end vaccine mandates for school children. So, Mike, pack your bags. But the state would be the first to scrap requirements that children be vaccinated to attend school, among other rules. And this is an announcement that the Florida Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph A. Ladapo, made today alongside Governor Ron DeSantis. And it'll be interesting because obviously, they're saying, who am I to tell your child what they what to put in your child's body? And of course it's Florida, so they said your body is a gift from God. But the problem here is it could get other school children sick. But I guess those who want to be vaccinated are vaccinated, and they should be free from the harm, and those who don't want to be vaccinated don't. But I mean, I think it's going to cause death for children who have parents who have Maha mind, but I don't know. I know people love living in Florida because it's a little loosey-goosey with the rules. So that's what's going to happen right now. But again, it's unclear, and they say it is unclear what the process of undoing the state's longstanding vaccine mandates might look like, but state legislatures are typically involved in setting vaccine requirements for school children. The federal government approves vaccines for the public and issues guidance on who should get them. So this isn't, finalized yet, but this is certainly news that we should be following if you're interested. And then last, I just wanted to end with a quick conversation. Again, I didn't have time to watch it because all these podcasts are so fucking long, but Adam Friedland, famous comedian, very known for, the Adam Friedland Show, and then more than that, Cumtown, which is crazy that I'm talking about Cumtown on a news show. But as we know, all these prominent male podcasts have really been in the zeitgeist lately because they are having political effects on people. But Adam Friedland interviewed Ritchie Torres, and Ritchie Torres is a Democrat representing the Bronx here in New York. So I'm very familiar. I've followed Ritchie Torres online for a long time. He's very pro-Israel. I mean, he's an outspoken politician. I think a lot of his views come out as damn near Republican, but so in Newsweek it says Jewish comedian confronts Ritchie Torres on his support for Israel. So I just wanted to end with this because I think it's interesting again just how much coverage male podcasters are getting in the political space. I think the women from I've Had It they've been getting some pretty good political interviews since they got really involved in politics. But beyond that, it's still heavily, as is the YouTube space, heavily male. So Adam Friedland, a Jewish comedian who once lived in Israel, confronted Representative Ritchie Torres, a New York Democrat, about his support for Israel during a recent interview. Why it matters. Obviously they talk about Gaza. And this is what it says. I'm just going to read it in the Newsweek format. It says, why it matters. On October 7th, 2023, Hamas launched an attack against Israel, killing 1,200, abducting 251. You guys all know this. Israel has said 58 hostages remain in Gaza and that only about 20 are believed to be alive. Israel launched an offensive in Gaza, killing more than 62,000, according to the Associated Press, citing Gaza's health ministry. Critics have sounded the alarm on Israel's military operation with worries over the number of civilians killed or displaced. Torres has emerged as a vocal supporter of Israel amid the conflict. During a new interview on the podcast, The Adam Friedland Show, which Ritchie Torres's people told him definitely not do, but he's a bold guy. And I think people, especially in New York, saw Zoran do all these appearances on all these podcasts and, get millions and millions of followers on Instagram. And Ritchie Torres goes to himself, well, I'm charismatic. I'm a young, charismatic man. Why couldn't this be me? And people are not doing their due diligence preparing for such shows, because to go on a show, you have to be familiar with the format of the show and what the comedian is going to be like. And it doesn't seem like Ritchie Torres was very prepared based on clips I've seen and what I've read about it. During a new interview on the podcast, The Adam Friedland Show, Friedland and Torres discussed and debated Israel. The conversation began when Friedland asked Torres about why he became such an ardent supporter of Israel, to which Torres pointed to a conversation with an Israeli mayor during his first visit to the country in 2015. He said to me that the majority of his children struggle with post-traumatic stress because families like his live under the threat of relentless rocket fire. I remember seeing these bus stops doubling as bomb shelters, Torres said. I come from the Bronx, where people live in fear of bullets and guns, but we in America do not worry about Canada and Mexico firing rockets into American homes and communities. Now, I co-sign. I don't think this is, I think there's money involved, but as far as this, I co-sign this, but I would co-sign this for anyone living in Palestine as well. Anyone who's living in Israel or Palestine, those children, I'm sure, all have PTSD because I'm sure they all fear being rocket fire at all times. How could you fucking not? I was there for 10 days and I feared it. And as I've said many times before on podcasts, when I was in Israel, the tension is palpable. I can't imagine having a healthy mental state living there. It is so stressful. And again, this is coming from someone who's spent 22 years in New York City. So if I'm saying it's fucking stressful, it's fucking stressful. They went on to discuss the rise of anti-Semitism in the United States and pro-Palestinian activism on college campuses. I think hatred of Jewish people has exploded in this country, and I think it's because of our support of what looks to be absolute brutality, Friedman said. I really love that quote, because Adam is acknowledging that there is a super big rise in anti-Semitism, but he's also saying many people's, stances on Israel are not fucking helping. And I really agree with that. Torres responded, you think that's a justification for anti-Semitism. You think Israeli government policy is a justification for anti-Semitism. My views is that there is no justification for anti-Semitism. And again, I agree with that. We talked about that on the show before. I don't think anything is a justification for anti-Semitism, but I think what the most pressing issue is stopping the destruction and the murder in Gaza. And once that is stopped, then we're going to have to fucking deal with all the anti-Semitism because, it's a problem, but is it a bigger problem than, I don't like, logging on to X and saying hate all Jews. And I've certainly gotten, I always get anti-Semitic comments online, but I've gotten more and more of them because they're more and more accepted and people don't really care anymore. But when I think about like what my day is like and what a kid in Gaza's day is like, I don't think, man, my day was equally as bad as a kid in Gaza's. So that's what I'm talking about here. Yes, there is no justification for anti-Semitism. Has the anti-Semitism gotten way worse since October 7th? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But I do not, sometimes you have to put issues in order of how pressing they are, and stopping the murder in Gaza comes first. What does it look like to have a flag with a Jewish, Friedland said Torres was deflecting on the matter. What does it look like to have a flag with a Jewish star and I'm Jewish and for kids to be starving, Friedland said, to which Torres said, it sounds like you're justifying anti-Semitism right now, which is kind of crazy for a non-Jew to say to a Jew, but okay. Friedland said that Jewish people wait, I just want to make sure. I was like, Ritchie Torres isn't Jewish, because you can be Sephardic.
No. Ritchie Torres is definitely not Jewish.
Okay,
you don't even have to look that up.
Yeah, because I just wanted to double check because I was like, I'm just saying that, but I was like, that's actually not fair of me because there are Latino Jews, they're Sephardic Jews. It's just different because most European Jews are Ashkenazi, but I'm like, he could technically, Latinos can be Jews technically. So okay, but he's not. Friedland said that Jewish people in the U.S. are receiving a lot more hate right now because of what the people with the flag that has a Jewish star on it are doing to other people right now. I'm telling you as a Jewish person how painful it is for us to say, and it hurts my stomach to say, and you're going to say, I disagree, that this is a genocide, he said. And that hurts to say that a Jew could do that. It hurts because we grew up with learning about what hatred is. We grew up learning about this. The same year that the state of Israel was established in 1948, the world saw the Holocaust and the established standards for what a genocide is. And I agree with him that it's super painful, but also makes sense a lot of times. And you even see this on small things. Like, for example, a lot of times when a person is molested as a child, they grew up to be a molester. So actually, when you know that, it is not uncommon for someone who has been the victim of a crime to then become the perpetrator. So actually, it makes perfect sense that people who had a genocide committed against them would then use that because they know what a powerful mechanism of control it is. So although it seems ironic, to me, it actually makes a lot of sense. He described the actions of the Israeli government as a stain on our history that has changed what being Jewish is. Israel has denied that its actions in Gaza constitute genocide. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told reporters earlier in August that if we had wanted to commit a genocide, it would have taken exactly one afternoon, which, I mean, what a great quote. Put that on his tombstone. I'd be so proud. Friedland said it doesn't track why there is a fixation on pro-Palestinian campus activism. College students across the country have organized in opposition to Israel's actions in Gaza. Critics of the protests have warned that they have at times turned anti-Semitic and made Jewish students feel unsafe, though protesters have accused critics of conflating anti-Semitism with critiques of the Israeli government, which is happening, but that's also, there's so many things going on at once. Like, I have seen that too, but I don't think that opposing Israel's actions in Gaza is anti-Semitic. Technically, it shouldn't really even involve the Jewish religion at all. It should involve the government. And separation of church and state, right? Torres said, which is hard when your country does have a Star of David on it, as Adam Friedland pointed out. Torres said he believed that Friedland was conflating two separate issues. He emphasized his support for a two-state solution and said he believes Hamas's actions on October 7th began the modern conflict. there are those who only want a Jewish state, and there are those who only want a Palestinian state, and we should be advocating for the coexistence of the Jewish state and the Palestinian state, he said. I continue to believe the two-state solution is the inevitable path forward. The American Jewish community holds complex views about Israel and Gaza. A Pew Research Center survey conducted from March 24th through 30th found that 73% of Jewish Americans view Israel favorably, while 27% view the country unfavorably. A February poll conducted by the Voice of Jewish People found that 59% of Jewish Americans opposed a plan for the U.S. to take control of Gaza. Only 17% supported that plan, according to the Jewish People Policy Institute. A JPPI poll released last week found that 92% of Jewish Americans believe Israel's actions have direct implications for Jews abroad. It found that 47% of Jewish Americans felt Israel had no choice but to launch the Gaza military operation, while 34% believe the operation is a mistake. What people are saying, Adam Friedland on X, he said, this one was difficult. When we first finished, I wasn't sure it would be released. It's weird for me to present myself publicly the way I did at times, but I feel like it's important to share this anyway. I hope you guys like it. And again, I have to still watch the whole thing. But what I liked about what I've seen so far in the clips that I've seen is that it really did seem like Adam Friedland was being genuine and he wasn't trying to conduct like a fucking nonsensical Tim Pool gotcha interview. It really seemed like he wanted to converse with Ritchie Torres. Mike, you raised your hand?
Oh, no. I mean, it's so rare for me to reach out to someone else who is in this industry and say, I really enjoyed your work, even if I did. You know, a comedy special, obviously, you send someone a text.
And what did Adam Friedland say? Who?
No, he didn't respond. Obviously, he's way too famous for me at this point in his life. But once upon a time, I could book him on a comedy show every now and then.
Oh, see, I've never met him. It's so weird. I've never met him.
Oh, no. Adam would come on Legion of Skanks fairly regularly when I was an intern there.
One knock against him.
I just got to know Adam. I got to know Adam before he was even like making money in the podcast, really. So like anybody who I met at that point, like I do feel like some kind of a kinship with them. And
I'm just fucking with you. I'm sure he knows who you are.
But I reached out to him to be like, dude, that was truly like, thank you. This is very lame of me to say, but thank you for trying to drag one of these absolute ghouls to the carpet, because what I loved about it, the entire first half of the interview is like, let's find out about your story. Let's humanize you. I want to show let's talk about the person that you are outside of being a politician. And then the entire second half of the interview, he tried to appeal to his humanity. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, okay, I've got you tapped into like remembering what it was like to be broke and you know, growing up in public housing, not know where your next meal is coming from. Can you feel any empathy for these children who are starving right now? And it was just like, well, it feels anti-Semitic for you to even ask me that question. And it's like, again, am I in the Matrix? Is this the Twilight Zone?
Right. Again, it's just so crazy for a non-Jewish person to say that to a Jewish person.
The most Jewish man who's ever lived. He's our generation's Woody Allen for how Jewish he is.
It was so funny when I read one article headline that was like Adam Friedland, a Jewish comedian, and I was like, very redundant headline. And then when you look it up, and again, I feel like the AIPAC tracking actually does get borderline anti-Semitic because people do use it. Like can't explain it, but like there's just a tone you're used to hearing as a Jew that you're like there's a way that people say Jew, and you just fucking know it. It's just like it's a fucking tone that people use to get away with it, because like there's not actually anything wrong with saying the word Jew, but there is a tone that you say it, and that is fucking problematic. But I did just Google how much money has Ritchie Torres taken from AIPAC, and it's his 2024 campaign. AIPAC was the largest financial contributor, with total donations amounting to $535,398. No special interest group should be donating that much.
Over 1.1 million he's received from them.
Well, so I'm just talking about his last campaign, but that's
I know, but
fucking crazy. That's crazy. There's no at a certain point there's no there's no one with a specific agenda that you should be accepting money like that from, like none, because there's no way that you're going to be unbiased. Like, you know, I don't know. And just like, so we're clear, people say APAC all the time, but it's American Israel Public Affairs Committee. And again, I feel like it's like weird. It's just like, why are we accepting, like, I know it's like Israel, America, Israel, but like, it does feel weird that that's even like, you're even able to get as an American politician money that is so closely related to another country. Like there feels something like foreign-y off about that, because, you know, there are like lots of rules. Like, I mean, like for my campaign, for instance, like, you know, so many of you are from Australia and the UK and stuff and Canada, and you guys were not legally allowed to donate to my campaign, because even on that level, that's considered, you know, having interference from other countries. And it made perfect sense to me why you guys couldn't donate. But that's why it's like a little confusing to me, like why this organization that is, you know, a relationship with another country, like it doesn't really make sense when you just use your critical mind.
Well, you know, it does when you look into the last president who tried to bring legislation to make APAC register as a foreign lobby.
Which is who?
Come on.
I don't know.
The one
Trump?
who got his head blown off.
JFK?
JFK, like
I didn't know that.
he was on the books being like, APAC is a foreign organization. We need to treat them like a foreign organization. They cannot have undue influence in American politics. And then shortly after, he got his brains blown out, and nobody's mentioned it since.
So you think Israel is the reason that JFK is dead?
I think that
we're gonna have to do that dive into that conspiracy theory on a different episode. But
no, I mean, I think I'm of the mind, and I think a lot of people are at this point, that Mossad and CIA are two sides of the same coin, and they are running a shadow government that is far more powerful than either the United States or Israel.
Mike, I'm very happy you're on the show. I love our conversations. I really do. I have to look into it more. I don't have information for a rebuttal. My knowledge of JFK is not good. I am not a historical buff. The most I can say about JFK is I've stood in a spot where he was killed. That was kind of weird. Representative Ritchie Torres during the show says, quote, "There are students who have faced harassment and intimidation because of their beliefs. There are students who feel inhibited from expressing their Jewish or Zionist identity because of the atmosphere of intimidation or harassment on college campuses." And I agree. Yeah, like it's an uncomfortable time to be a Jew. I've talked about this ad nauseum. It's really, I've never felt, Mike, turn the mic off.
Sorry.
I've never felt uncomfortable or really scared to be a Jew. I wouldn't say I'm scared now, but it's definitely something like where you're like, man, like this is a really cool part of my identity that I am proud of. And if like, I don't know, I felt fucking weird showing Instagram stories of me lighting my menorah in December, like, to be honest. But I posted it because I was like, no, we can't start doing that. Like, you know, that's crazy to not post that. But then there are some Jewish people I know who kind of were posting it as like a fuck you. And I'm like, I'm not posting it as a fuck you. I'm posting it the same way I've always posted it, which was a celebration of a Jewish holiday. Like that's the way I was always posting it. It wasn't a fucking political statement. Progressive commentator Mehdi Hassan on X. I don't know Adam Friedland personally, but anyone who does know him, please tell him from me, thank you, thank you, thank you. He should be the elected leader, not Ritchie freaking Torres. Attorney Aaron Regenberg on X. Adam Friedland honestly and directly sharing the anguish of seeing atrocities being done under a Star of David in his name straight to Ritchie Torres is honestly the best embodiment of what Judaism should and can mean. Really hit me hard. Highly recommend watching the interview. And that's what I like about, because all the kind of things and quotes I've heard about it. It's like, okay, this is actually what we really need to be doing, like sitting down and having a conversation. And it's really hard to get information that feels at all even keeled about this. And so, you know, again, I need to watch this soon, but like kudos to Adam Friedland for doing that. And I love anyone who, again, whether or not I agree with their views in this instance, it seems like Adam Friedland and I are pretty aligned, which makes sense. I really fucking love the Come Town guys. Like, I think Stavros has really interesting bits on his podcast. I love Nick Mullen. Like, I really like these people, whether or not they fucking like me. Some of these guys probably hate me and make fun of me all the time, and I don't care. I like you guys. So Nick Mullen was very nice. He was on Guys We Fucked at Skankfest. But other than that, Savi I haven't talked to in a while, but just because he's busy at fucking international film festivals hanging out with Emma Stone. What happens next? Israel continues facing international pressure over its military operations in Gaza, while Hamas has been pressed to return to remaining hostages. There have been recent attempts at peace talks to achieve a lasting ceasefire, but they have stalled. All right, guys, that's our show. So much to talk about. I'm trying to give you some like really good, hearty shows because there's going to be like at least 1 or possibly 2 weeks in December. Not where we're dark, but I'll have to do some kind of a pre-record for when I'm in Japan, and just like the week of my birthday, the 2 weeks of like my birthday going into Japan, I have to do like an even extra travel that I didn't, just like I have a lot of shit going on, all good stuff, but like I can't really talk about it, but I have a very hectic schedule, but I want to still make sure to deliver this show to you every week, but it won't be able to be in like the realest time as it is now, but me and Mike will figure that out. But I just wanted to give you a couple juicy episodes these past few weeks to get so much information in, and we'll deliver something. So if you have any ideas I have some ideas of my own and some guests that I think would work well for evergreen episodes, but I'm gonna have to do definitely one, probably 2 evergreen episodes. So if you have any recommendations, email them in. I think interviews would be a good thing. There's a bunch of people who I want to interview who the perspective is not evergreen, but will be relevant for several months, including Gregory Lyakov, who you guys voted in. Mike has been in talks with him, and I think that can be part of one episode. And then also my friend who works for Americans United is going to do an interview, although he's traveling for a couple weeks. But that's going to be a really interesting conversation about church and state. So if you have any specific questions you want me to ask him, happy to do so. He's also the former head of marriage equality. If you have any questions about that, he's a great resource on things like that. And, just LGBTQ legislation in general here in America, I would say he would be an expert on that. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to hop on that Patreon, hop on the boat of funding critical thinking over here. It's patreon.com/withoutacountry. You can follow me on Instagram, which is a free thing that supports my career so much you don't even know. I'm at Philanthropy Gal on social media. You can follow the show here on YouTube, youtube.com/withoutacountry. Just hit subscribe. It's free. Again, so helpful. Without a Country podcast on Instagram. And then again, tickets, they're all in the Linktree link in my bio on all my social media. Los Angeles, Gash, October 22nd, already over half sold out, and we're 49 days away. And then New York Comedy Festival, the Guys We Fucked Slutsgiving 12-year anniversary show, which is going to be iconic. Make sure to get tickets to that. That's at the Crown Hill Theater in Brooklyn on November 14th, which is a Friday. We like to do our shows on Friday because that's when you hear us in your ear holes. And then, Mike, is there anything that you would like to promote?
September 18th is a big day for me. I have the Armored League at Melrose Ballroom and Anxiety Attack at New York Comedy Club. Get tickets at thearmoredleague.com or New York Comedy Club.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you. Make sure to follow Mike on Instagram at Harrington. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, gosh. And keep looking for Shelly Mishcavige because there's like some Scientology stuff that I have to get into that I haven't even yet. Maybe we'll do that on Patreon. All right. Bye. Love you. Peace.